What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
7MT. Chapter 211 with Senbon Sakura, it's hard not to pretend. Advertisement. Jakuho Reikoben, pretty good ability. No wonder you feel this fanciful confidence in your Bankai. Quote. Under the watchful eyes of both the enemy and the enemy, Luo became agitated. He slowly pulled out the Zanpakuto, but instead of attacking, he stuck the drawn Zanpakuto into the ground in front of him. Have you given up struggling? It's also a smart choice. After all, in front of my Bankai, you will die no matter what you do. As the leader of the second team, Sui Feng's killing intent is not strong, but it is very pure. From the moment Whitebeard didn't give her face, she decided to kill. Luo Hao's move to let go of Zanpakuto, in her opinion, is also a choice of time consciousness. Maybe you misunderstood something, but that's okay. You are so confident in your ability, have you ever imagined what you will do if you face this proud ability one day? Luo Hao's words made Sui Feng puzzled for a while, and then under the dull gaze of everyone including Aizen Sosuke, he reached out and pressed Zanpakuto's handle. Zanpakuto, which was stabbing straight on the ground, suddenly burst into golden light. Immediately afterwards, the tiny Zanpakuto suddenly transformed into a giant golden missile. Looking around, the appearance is exactly the same as the Jakuho Reikoben that Sui Feng blasted over. What? Seeing the scene in front of him, Sui Feng was instantly paled with shock. I've just started pretending. Are you scared? Then what do you think of me pretend backquote? As soon as Luo Hao finished speaking, the Jakuho Reikoben transformed by his Zanpakuto was launched violently. The two golden missiles collided in the void, there was no earth-shattering explosion, no shock wave sweeping everything, and no loud noise that shook the Soul Society. Some are just two groups of rays of light entangled with each other, annihilated each other, and finally turned into nothingness. This man has the same Zanpakuto as the captain. Advertisement. Sui Feng's vice captain, Omeda Marekio, stared wide-eyed. How is this possible? Sui Feng's eyes widened in disbelief. The same Zanpakuto is not unheard of in Soul Society. But the odds are pitifully low. It has happened once or twice over countless years. How could he be met by such a coincidence? Continue or not? While admiring the faces of Sui Feng and the others, Luo Hao cast Jakuho Reikoben again. Can you continue to use it? Sui Feng's face darkened. Jakuho Reikoben, how could she not know? That is an ability that can only be used once every 3 days. If it is used continuously within a day, it will cost a lot. But when she noticed Luo Hao's smiling face, she fell silent. The opponent's appearance doesn't seem to be paying a heavy price, it's almost like using her big move Jakuho Reikoben as a flat A. Bang! Just as Sui Feng was terrified, Luo Hao's Jakuho Reikoben had launched. Not good. Knowing how powerful Jakuho Reikoben is, Tsuzumaki dared not let Luo Hao hit him. At the moment, she can only use Jakuho Reikoben again to offset it by gnashing her teeth. Good blocking. Continue. As soon as Luo Hao finished speaking, the third Jakuho Reikoben condensed and formed again. Quote exclamation mark quote. Seeing this scene, Tsuzumaki half knelt on the ground with a pale face. Advertisement. Twice a day is beyond her limit. Facing Luo Hao's third shot, Jakuho Reikoben, she was powerless to resist. Is it not enough? Hiraku Shunsui put his right hand on Zanpakuto. As one of the most experienced among the 13 masters, besides Yamamoto Genryu Sai, he has also heard a little about Sui Feng's Bankai ability. 2 shots of Jakuho Reikoben in a row is already ultimate. After all, the ability to kill with one hit is of course limited. Backquote Bankai Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi. Just when Kiraku Shunsui was about to make a move, an indifferent voice sounded in vain. Immediately afterwards, rows of huge blades rose from the ground, and then turned into countless sakura flowers flying in the sky. Even people who don't know how to appreciate flowers can't help but exclaim when they see this scene, it's really amazing. What a nice view. Asita's eyes lit up. Although she doesn't like romance and beauty like ordinary girls, what she likes more is Liku. But if it is both beautiful, compelling, and powerful, she will still accept it. Is it finally out? Sure enough, after Aizen, he is the most pretender. With Senbon Sakura's flamboyant Bankai ability, it's hard to think Wang Haojiao won't pretend. Quote. When Luo Hao saw that Byakuya Kuchiki made a shot, and that it was Bankai, the corners of his mouth gradually curved. Just this level of Bankai can't stop Jakuho Reikoben. What is a one-hit kill? It wouldn't be a one-hit kill if only Byakuya Kuchiki's Bankai could block it. Really? Facing Jakuho Reikoben, although the sky filled with sakura flowers wrapped it up and cut and slashed it, but after Jakuho Reikoben exploded, the terrifying spiritual explosion immediately sent countless sakura flowers away. Byakuya Kuchiki, will not tolerate anyone who breaks the Soul Society's laws. Byakuya Kuchiki's eyes turned cold, and his mind moved. Killer Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi. Advertisement. Chapter 212 Wake up, boy. Advertisement. Under the control of Byakuya Kuchiki's mind, countless sakura flowers reformed rows of Zanpakuto. These Zanpakuto were suspended in midair, forming a huge knife formation that directly wrapped the spiritual shock wave released by the explosion of Jakuho Reikoben. It's just that Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi's idea of killing the scene by Byakuya Kuchiki is good, but it still only lasted for a moment, and his knife formation began to fall apart. Can't stop it. When Byakuya Kuchiki saw this scene, his heart sank slightly. The power of one-hit kill is stronger than he imagined. Even his Bankai can't handle it if he carries it head-on. Captain Kuchiki, go straight to kill the enemy. Leave Jakuho Reikoben to the old man. Just when Byakuya Kuchiki was about to show the strongest attack and Jakuho Reikoben was tough, Yamamoto Genryu Sai, the leader of the Gote 13th Division who hadn't spoken a word since his appearance, suddenly spoke. Yes, Your Excellency the Captain. Hearing this, Byakuya Kuchiki, who obeys the rules of the club the most, immediately chooses to obey the Order 737. 81 of Bakudo Splitting Void. As Byakuya Kuchiki withdrew the knife array, a huge explosion of spiritual power swept towards Yamamoto Genryu Sai and the Shinigami. But at this moment, Yamamoto Genryu Sai, the leader, moved. With a simple note of Bakudo, he let everyone understand why he is the leader in the Gote 13th Division, and the other captains can only be the talkers and the leaders. Because he's not just twisting Zanpakuto, who claims to be the strongest attack power. Ryujin Jaka, himself as a Shinigami, has reached the limit of Shinigami in every Shinigami skill. One move, Splitting Void, created a huge barrier that actually blocked Jakuho Reikoben's explosion. Slap. As expected of the leader of Seraiti. No wonder the captain has changed batches after batches over the years, but you, the chief captain, have always been stable. Dab. Advertisement. Luo Hao clapped his hands lightly, and he recognized Yamamoto Genryu Sai's strength. Even Yuhabak, who has mastered a bunch of cheating abilities, had to take the Bankai from Yamamoto Genryu Sai to kill him. One can imagine how strong Yamamoto Genryu Sai is. In terms of hard steel on the front, the two bosses in the Shinigami world, King Aizen and Yuhabak are really no match for Yamamoto Genryu Sai. It can be said that Yamamoto Genryu Sai, apart from being a bit stupid, has an absolutely top-notch comprehensive combat power. Anyone who is tough with him will definitely end badly. Bankai like Jakuho Reikoben, even you can't continue to use it. Let's fight. The laws of the Seraiti shall not be violated by anyone. With the leader Yamamoto Genryu Sai taking action to suppress the audience, Byakuya Kuchiki has nothing to worry about. After he said to Luo Hao in a cold tone, he immediately drove countless pieces and swept towards Luo Hao. Kageyoshi Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi. Hundreds of millions of sakura flowers surrounded Luo Hao in the blink of an eye, and then continuously rotated inward in the shape of a ball, strangling him. Seeing this scene, the captain and vice-captain surrounded Luo Hao felt as if he could not even leave a trace of blood behind. Is your Zanpakuto really the same as Captain Tsuzumaki? There is also a person who does not agree with the other captains. That is Aizen Sosuke. At this moment, he stared at Luo Hao intently. I asked Captain Sui Feng just now, and now I want to ask you too. Captain Kuchiki, I see you are quite confident in your Zanpakuto ability. So if one day you were faced with your own Zanpakuto, what would you do? Facing the countless sakura flowers oncoming, Luo Hao did not move at all, but just showed a meaningful smile to Byakuya Kuchiki. Advertisement. What do you mean by that? When Byakuya Kuchiki heard this, his pupils constricted suddenly. Want to pretend in front of me? Wake up. Bang. Luo Hao chuckled and shook his head. Just when countless sakura flowers were about to wrap around him, rows of huge blades suddenly became angry around him. Under Byakuya Kuchiki's dull gaze, the rows of blades shattered into countless beautiful sakura flowers. Immediately these sakura flowers collide and cut with the sakura flowers of Byakuya Kuchiki. What on earth is it? Seeing this scene, whether it was the captain or the deputy captain, they all felt chills all over their bodies. No one who can get their status in Seraiti, the world's #1 Shinigami club, is an idiot. First came Jakuho Reikoben, followed by Senbon Sakura Kageyoshi. It just happens to be their abilities. This is too coincidental. As this his Zanpakuto ability. Aizen Sosuke stared at Luo Hao. Suddenly, a thought popped up in his mind. Wait, he can use Tsuzumbaki's and Byakuya Kuchiki's Bankai abilities, does that mean my Kyoko Suigetsu also? When this thought came to him, he suddenly found that Luo Hao was also looking at him. Really, Aizen Sosuke's heart sank as soon as he met Luo Hao's gaze. Advertisement. Chapter 213 Can the administrator's Zanpakuto be unreasonable? Advertisement. From Luo Hao's eyes, Aizen Sosuke read a lot of information. He knew his plan had gone wrong. Tried Luo Hao with many talkers from the 13th division of the court, but in the end it became the perfect Luo Hao. With his IQ, it has already reached this time, and he still can't see what Luo Hao's Zanpakuto ability is. Damn it, it's too pervert. Could the time traveler be so unreasonable? Even Zanpakuto's abilities are so pervert. To have the same Zanpakuto abilities as other Shinigami. When Zhang Chulin saw this, he also felt a chill in his body and mind. Such a Zanpakuto ability is too cheating to change. How to fight this? The first thing everyone who fights Luo Hao has to face is their own Zanpakuto ability. The more pervert the Zanpakuto you hold, the more desperate you will be when fighting with Luo Hao. Old Man Mountain. Hieraku Shunsui was also taken aback by the scene in front of him. If this son is not dead, it must be a serious problem for the Soul Society. Yamamoto Genryu Sai stared at Luo Hao for a while, and then he said every word. Such a high rating. It is also the first time I have seen a teacher give such a high evaluation to a person. Jashiro Yukitaki was shocked. He also didn't expect Yamamoto Genryu Sai to speak so highly of Luo Hao. This is already the point where Luo Hao is not at ease. Advertisement. But when he thought of the Bankai abilities that Luo Hao showed just now from the two Shinigami captains, he was relieved. If their guess is true, Luo Hao's Zanpakuto ability is really so it is normal for Yamamoto Genryusai to have such a killing intent towards Luo Hao. It is extremely rare for a human being to master the power of a Shinigami. Mastering Bankai is the rarest of rares. And Zanpakuto's ability is so terrifying, it has never been seen before. My Senbon Sakura. Seeing this scene, Byakuya Kuchiki uttered a few words in disbelief. He didn't expect that Luo Hao, whose Zanpakuto ability was the same as Sui Feng's one moment ago, would actually display Senbon Sakura the next moment, and it was also Senbon Sakura's Bankai. At this moment, he felt Sui Feng's mood. I do not believe. After a long while, Byakuya Kuchiki gritted his teeth, gathered all the flying Sakura flowers, and gathered them around his body, forming two bright white wings. The final scene of the White Emperor's sword. But at the same time, the Sakura flower controlled by Luo Hao was entrenched beside him, forming the same white wings. Seeing this scene, Byakuya Kuchiki was stunned, but also felt an indescribable bitterness. He opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But in the end, I found that I couldn't say anything. Go. The final scene White Emperor's sword that Luo Hao used did not rush towards the opponent as fast as Byakuya Kuchiki did, but just swung the sword. A bright white light that tore apart the earth and cut the sky of Soul Society into the sky had already flown in front of Byakuya Kuchiki. Not good. Byakuya Kuchiki's pupils constricted, and he quickly used the final scene Beiti sword to block. But when his Zanpakuto struck the oncoming white light, he felt an overwhelming force coming, which made the hands holding the knife tremble uncontrollably, and his body fell back uncontrollably. White Emperor's sword can still be used like this. Advertisement. Byakuya Kuchiki, who always pretended expressionlessly and danced calmly, saw Luo Hao's White Emperor's sword, but was so stimulated that he gritted his teeth. Zero asked for flowers, zero. Although he didn't want to admit it, the cruel fact in front of him made him, the master of Senbon Sakura, feel ashamed and angry. As the captain of Shinigami who has been immersed in Senbon Sakura for so many years, he doesn't know the end scene of the White Emperor's sword. It can still be used like this. It is also the Beiti sword of the final scene, but he, the original owner, can only be beaten. In his opinion, it is a great shame and humiliation. He was defeated by Senbon Sakura's ability and was forced to flee in embarrassment. Luo Hao looked at Byakuya Kuchiki who was about to cast Fiery Lightning Howl with a half smile. Captain Aizen. But, are you sure you want to play Hado with me? When they heard Luo Hao's words, they all turned to look at the black robe not far away. Zanpakuto can't play Hado if I can't play it. Byakuya Kuchiki, who couldn't hold back his breath in his heart, immediately raised his hand to Luo Hao after using the empty cicada to resolve the crisis. His words not only stunned Byakuya Kuchiki, but also stunned the other leaders of the Gote 13th Division. Hado no 63 Fiery Lightning Howl. While talking, Luo Hao turned his head to look at Aizen Sosuke, who was completely covered in a black robe. Facing Luo Hao's advancement layer by layer, which oppressed him so much that he couldn't resist the final scene White Emperor's sword, in the end Byakuya Kuchiki could only use the advanced Shunpo skill of the Shihuan family. Why don't you answer Captain Kuchiki? Empty cicada. Hearing this, Byakuya Kuchiki felt uneasy for no reason. Aizen. Along with the roar of thunder and lightning, a huge yellow lightning quickly condensed in his palm. The iconic charm of Captain Shinigami was left in place. What do you mean by that? Advertisement. Chapter 214 Aizen. Get out of the way, I'm going to start pretending. Advertisement. Your Excellency Hokage, you pretend to pretend, why did you call me out all of a sudden? If you shout like that, it will make me very passive. Under the questioning gazes of many leaders in the 13th Division of the Gote, Aizen Sosuke didn't know whether he never thought of hiding his identity, or after seeing Luo Hao's Zanpakuto ability, he also knew that even if he had Kyoko Suigetsu is also difficult to hide. After Luo Hao finished speaking, he calmly took off the black robe covering his body. His signature dark eyes, brown hair, and good-natured face were revealed. Aizen, is it really you? Hiraku Shunsui stared at 240, and couldn't help but exclaimed. What the hell does this happen? Jashiro Yukitaki was also stunned. You really didn't die. Hana Retsu was the least surprised of all the captains. Because she's the only one among all of them who doubted that Aizen Sosuke wasn't dead from the very beginning. As expected of Captain Hana Retsu. Sure enough, it didn't disappoint me, I really can't hide it from you at all. But it doesn't matter, and I never expected to be able to hide it from you. As long as you can hide it from others, that's fine. Quote. In the face of many questions and responsibilities from former colleagues, Aizen Sosuke has a calm expression. What's your purpose in feigning death? What are you trying to accomplish in collusion with these travel disasters? Yamamoto Uenyazai, who had been keeping quiet all this time, not only opened his mouth, but also questioned Aizen Sosuke one after another. An attempt. Advertisement. Can't tell you yet, but to you, it doesn't matter what my intentions are. If you insist on hearing a satisfactory statement from me, then you can understand that I want to overthrow the rule of the guy sitting in that chair. Hearing this, Aizen Sosuke's eyes flashed brightly under the lens. Yamamoto Genryusai's questioning made him couldn't help but secretly said in his heart. Okay, finally let me wait for this opportunity. Everyone get out of the way, I'm going to start pretending. Aizen, do you know what you're talking about? When Jashiro Yukitaki heard this, he flew into a rage. Of course I know. That's why I'm moving towards that goal step by step. Aizen Sosuke shrugged. You are so arrogant, Aizen. God's authority is beyond your reach. Hiraku Shunsui said coldly. It's you who are arrogant. No one stands in that position from the beginning, whether it is you or me, even he is, but the window period of the throne of heaven is about to end, and from now on, I will stand in that position superior. Aizen Sosuke took off his glasses while talking. Then he shattered the black-rimmed glasses in his hand under the surprised eyes of many captains, and then he grabbed his hair with hairspray and stroked it back. A bunch of iconic bangs, domineering president-like indifference, hockey eyes, and an ultimate handsome face, all show the demeanor of a generation of kings. As expected of Captain Aizen, there is a powerful pretend aura between every gesture. Quote. Advertisement. Seeing this scene, Zhang Chulin couldn't help cheering loudly. Sure enough, it is the Shinigami he is familiar with. Obviously, Luo Hao has pretended to be a lot of pressure, but he is still extremely stable. As soon as he appeared on the stage, he had already pretended to be the 13th division of the Gote team one by one before dancing. It forces me to give full marks. The same lines, slightly modified, immediately put on a fresh effect. Although Luo Hao's gems are in front of her, Aizen still puts on her own demeanor. Aceeds, who almost clashed with Aizen Sosuke for 3 Sage Mode experience cards just now, has to admit that Aizen Sosuke is indeed a ruthless character in terms of pretend. Looking at the Wanjie chat skirt, in terms of strength and pretend, Aizen Sosuke can be completely stabilized. In her opinion, only the administrator Luo Hao is the only one. Others, either lack culture, lack strength, or lack appearance. For example, Zhang Chulin is indeed a great collection of pretenders from all walks of life, but lacks strength, which makes it impossible to forge the character of forcing the king. For example, Whitebeard has good looks and strength, but his culture is limited, whether he pretends or fights, he can only talk about it. Ligatures have only recently begun to be understood, and it is obviously an idiot talking in sleep if you want to pretend to be moving at this level of education. As for Cheomung, although it is true that it is working hard, it still lacks culture and appearance. It always tastes a little bit worse. 4.0. There has never been such a forceful style of Luo Hao and Aizen Sosuke who pretended to be speechless and amazed. Forcing the king is finally forcing the king. Even if the lines have been used, if you modify them a little bit, you can still pretend to be a superb force. After Luo Hao saw Aizen Sosuke's performance, he felt dark in his heart. This Aizen Sosuke really deserves to be the Shinigami king he recognized. On pretend, in the Shinigami world, he still only recognizes the brand of Aizen Sosuke. No matter how other people pretend, they still don't have the demeanor of forcing the king. Advertisement. Chapter 215 I'm so lost, I, Aizen, must make it back with my own hands. Advertisement. Cool. That's how it feels. What I lost that day, I finally put it back today. After Aizen Sosuke had a full view of Luo Hao, Aceeds, Yamamoto Uenyozai and others, he was calm on the surface, but he was so excited that tears filled his eyes. Ever since Luo Hao destroyed Cloud Shinobi Village that day, he could only watch Luo Hao dance happily while forcing him to pretend one after another in the live broadcast, and when he was banned in the end, he thought to himself in his heart said. He pretended to be a jerk today, not to prove how amazing he is Aizen Sosuke. Instead, he wanted to tell everyone that he had lost Aizen Sosuke, so he must pretend to be back. This is just the beginning. In the future, there will be more exciting events waiting for you. Aizen, you are no longer the Aizen captain I knew. After Jashiro Yukitake quietly watched Aizen Sosuke pretending to be aggressive, he immediately showed a heartbroken expression. In his opinion, the past Aizen was too perfect. Quite simply a model of Soul Society Shinigami captain. It is also true that he has a very good relationship with Aizen. It hurts so much to see Aizen Sosuke fall to this point. Isn't it the Captain Aizen you know? Unfortunately, that's your illusion. The Captain Aizen you know never existed in the first place. Aizen Sosuke shrugged and said in a casual tone. Captain Jashiro, what are you doing talking so much to such unrepentant people? Take him down first. Komamura Sajin saw that Jashiro Yukitake wanted to persuade Aizen Sosuke to turn around, and immediately jumped out and said. Number 7. Jashiro Yukitake heard the words, first glanced at Aizen Sosuke, and finally said in a low voice. Aizen, I want to see where you have the courage to say such ignorant words. Advertisement. Komamura Sajin stepped forward, and pulled out the Zanpakuto from his waist with a clang of his right hand. Roar. Wrath. As liberation speaks from his mouth, an enormous giant arm appears out of nowhere, and it punches Aizen Sosuke. Master Hokage, it seems that I have to be busy here for a while. Captain Kuchiki's Zanpakuto, please allow me to bring it to you later. Facing the scourge of Komamura Sajin, Aizen Sosuke still had a calm expression. I'm not interested in him anymore. You'd better pay off the debt you owe first. Luo Hao didn't even look at Byakuya Kuchiki who had chopped up the final scene Beatty sword by himself. Sure, Aizen Sosuke and Luo Hao exchanged glances. Both of them saw the same thought in each other's eyes. In exchange to pretend, those who wantonly violate the laws of the Soul Society, dare to be so rampant. When Byakuya Kuchiki heard this, 10,000 years unchanging paralyzed face couldn't help showing a gloomy look. Court death. Komamura Sajin also looked furious. In any case, he is also the dignified Captain Shinigami, one of the 13 speakers of Seraiti. Looking at the 13th division of the court, they are also high-ranking and powerful people. Now Luo Hao and Aizen Sosuke actually treated him and Byakuya Kuchiki as if they were goods, which instantly ignited the anger in his heart. Without any hesitation. Originally, he wanted to capture Aizen Sosuke alive. So it was just hands-on, no knife. But now, With the words of Luo Hao and Aizen Sosuke, the released giant hand suddenly produced a huge Zanpakuto with a height of more than 10 floors. Advertisement. Immediately afterwards, he swung his sword at Aizen Sosuke. Aizen owes me something that I haven't paid off yet. Please don't prevent him from paying his debts. Facing the gigantic Zanpakuto falling from the sky, Luo Hao just glanced at it. An identical giant hand also appeared in the void. And this giant hand also holds a Zanpakuto a dozen stories high to block Komamura Sajin's attack. Even my Zanpakuto abilities, Hado, Bankai Black Rope God's Scourge. Possessing such Zanpakuto ability is not used in the right way. At the same time, the black armored warrior also pulled out a huge long knife and slashed at Luo Hao angrily. Give the head to the old man. Not good. Bang. Komamura Sajin held Zanpakuto and slashed hard. Luo Hao originally wanted to use Komamura Sajin's Bankai, but when he saw the oncoming fiery lightning howl, he immediately changed his mind. Komamura Sajin's face darkened, hateful. Almost the moment Luo Hao changed his mind, he felt chills all over his body. On the other side, Byakuya Kuchiki also saw the opportunity and raised his hand to bombard the condensed fiery lightning howl towards Luo Hao and Aizen Sosuke. Not happy, but not happy, after realizing that Shikai could not take down Luo Hao, he Bankai without hesitation. Although Luo Hao hasn't made any moves yet, Aizen Sosuke seems to have practiced observation Hoki's future prediction. An incomparably huge black armored warrior rose from the ground. Seeing that his abilities were obtained by others, he was naturally 867 upset. The gigantic level is even higher than the full body Susanoo. Advertisement. Chapter 216 Leave a wrist, step back. Advertisement. This kind of extremely dangerous and extremely bad feeling is extremely rare. Even if it is besieged by 13 speakers from the 13th division of the court, it is difficult to appear. But Aizen Sosuke, who had experienced this feeling before, immediately turned to look at Luo Hao. At this moment, he just wanted to confirm his conjecture. Even if it was fiery lightning howl that Byakuya Kuchiki was bombarding at him, he just ignored it. Zanpakuto isn't the bigger the better. Seeing the black armored warrior slashing at him with a long knife, Luo Hao stood there without evading. At this moment, his eyes were extremely lonely. A few words just spit out from the mouth. Hado no 90 Black Coffin. When these 7 characters came out from Luo Hao's mouth, Aizen Sosuke felt as if he had been hit hard, and his whole body couldn't help shaking, as if he was about to fall to the ground at any time. I knew it was him. He pretended to be my P***Psi. Aizen Sosuke stared at Luo Hao with a pale face. Aizen is terrible. Whitebeard gave Luo Hao a pitying look. We worked so hard to build such a platform for us to pretend. As a result, Boss Luo not only pretended in his territory, but also forced him to pretend in front of his face. Zhang Chulin shook his head. He can fully understand how painful and heartbroken Aizen Sosuke is at this moment. Because when he was in the world under one person, he also secretly pretended to be Aizen Sosuke. It's just that he doesn't have Luo Hao's courage and compulsion, so he only dares to pretend quietly, unlike Luo Hao who not only pretends grandiosely, but also pretends to be Aizen Sosuke online live. Advertisement. Abandoning the chanting can actually cast the Hado of 90. How is it possible? A mere human can do something that even a captain-level Shinigami can't do. As this fake, seeing Luo Hao's actions, not only Zhang Chulin and the others were shocked, but also Yamamoto Genryusai and other Gote 13th Division officials were also shocked. Especially when they saw that after Luo Hao finished singing, a black cuboid that was as black as ink and capable of swallowing all light appeared out of thin air, and Komamura Sajin was instantly placed in it. They all cried out in shock. Sheila. Black Coffin comes fast and goes fast. From the appearance of Black Coffin to lock Komamura Sajin in, and then to the disappearance of Komamura Sajin, it was only a matter of seconds. This speed is so fast that all the Shinigami captains have no time to rescue. What? All the speakers of the fan team present could only watch with horror and anger as Komamura Sajin came out of the Black Coffin and fell to the ground covered in blood. As for his Bankai Black Rope Heavenly Scourge Mingwang, he was also severely injured by the Black Coffin in Komamura Sajin's body, and then fell to the ground. How scary. 2/3. No, the Black Coffin he cast has almost the full power of chanting without chanting. At most, it's only slightly worse than full singing. Ichimaru Jin's pupils constricted. As one of the top leaders in the 13th division of the court, he really knows exactly what the Black Coffin displayed by Luo Hao at this time represents. First of all, this man has reached the limit of Shinigami in Kido's training. At least, in the Soul Society of Nuo-Da, he has never seen a few Kido who can give up singing and cast more than 90. Secondly, the Kido who gave up singing and casting the number 90 is actually infinitely close to the full singing Shinigami, but he has never heard of it, let alone seen it. Advertisement. Maybe even Captain Aizen can't do it. Thinking of this, Ichimaru Jin turned his eyes to Aizen Sosuke involuntarily. At this moment, he also knew why Captain Aizen was so afraid of Luo Hao. This level of strength is indeed above that of Captain Aizen. Add to that the terrifying Zanpakuto that mimics the abilities of all Shinigami Captain Bankai. It is not difficult to understand why Aizen Sosuke treats Luo Hao with such caution. Komamura Sajin, who fell to the ground, raised his head with difficulty. Seeing how he gritted his teeth and stretched out his hand to Zanpakuto not far away, it was obvious that he did not intend to give up the fight, and just lay on the ground. Captain Komamura, let me call you that. I want you to just let go of Zanpakuto, it must be difficult for you, right? It doesn't matter, You can continue to try to pick up Zanpakuto, but you have to save Wang Jiaohao, the next wrist, and then back off. Luo Hao stood on the top floor of the building and looked down at Komamura Sajin. Puff. Hearing Luo Hao's words, two captains vomited blood at the same time. One is Komamura Sajin, who was lying on the ground struggling to pick up Zanpakuto to continue fighting, and the other is Aizen Sosuke, who was standing not far from Luo Hao. Aizen Sosuke turned his head with difficulty, staring at Luo Hao. It is obvious that he is already moving very fast. But why is the speed, rhythm, and cut in timing in pretend still far inferior to him? Just now Luo Hao pretended to be aggressive twice, and he just wanted to pretend to be close. But I didn't expect to fall behind Luo Hao twice in a row. Advertisement. Chapter 217. Pretend to be Aizen, so that Aizen can't pretend. Advertisement. That's horrible. Whitebeard brushed his brain aside a little impatiently. Too cruel. Zhang Chulin looked at Aizen Sosuke, who was vomiting blood on the spot, with pity. I still don't care about the Sage Mode experience card with him. Acid suddenly felt the depression in his heart dissipate in an instant. Anyway, Aizen Sosuke kindly invited her to the Shinigami world to pretend. Those 3 Sage Mode experience cards, I just treat it as giving it to the other party. And seeing Aizen Sosuke vomit blood on the spot being pretended by Luo Hao, this scene is worth the price of admission. This time Captain Aizen really has nothing to pretend to be. Cheomung sighed secretly. But there is no way. Who made you meet Hokage-sama? What's wrong with Aizen? Hieraku Shunsui and others looked at Aizen Sosuke, who was vomiting blood, in disbelief. Obviously the one who ate the next set of black coffin output was Komamura Sajin, not you. What blood are you vomiting? Is this jumping out to grab a scene? Is my fiery lightning howl that strong? Byakuya Kuchiki was even more dumbfounded on the spot. He released fiery lightning howl, but the problem is that his fiery lightning howl hasn't hit Aizen Sosuke yet. Could it be that his fiery lightning howl is already strong enough to damage the extremely powerful Aizen Sosuke through the air? Captain Kuchiki, do you think playing Hado in front of me is really a good thing? Advertisement. Just when Byakuya Kuchiki was wondering, Aizen Sosuke, who was still vomiting blood just now, suddenly looked up and stared at him. Not good. Although Aizen Sosuke didn't do anything, Byakuya Kuchiki could smell strong anxiety in his eyes. Without any hesitation, he immediately controlled countless sakura flowers to protect himself. Hado no 90 black coffin. Aizen Sosuke stared at Byakuya Kuchiki, and raised his right hand slowly. A huge black cuboid appeared again, just like when Luo Hao dealt with Komamura Sajin just now. Black coffin imprisoned Byakuya Kuchiki as soon as it appeared. When the black coffin dispersed, Byakuya Kuchiki had followed in the footsteps of Komamura Sajin and fell to the ground covered in blood. Even Zanpakuto couldn't hold on. Captain Kuchiki. Aizen can also abandon Hado, who sings and casts the number 90. Damn it, the Soul Society suddenly has 2 more enemies. One Luo Hao, one Aizen. Both of them could give up the Hado who chanted and cast 90, this kind of power that defeated a Bankai Shinigami captain in a snap of the fingers. Even Yamamoto Genryuzai looked at it with a touch of dignity. Even if Aizen Sosuke's black coffin is only a third of the power of a fully chanted black coffin, unlike Luo Hao who almost has the power of a fully chanted black coffin, it is still enough to shock people. Really, Captain Aizen is still a step behind that man. Whether it's strength or pretend. Ichimaru Jin completely confirmed his guess. Aizen. Even Bankai couldn't hold on after Byakuya Kuchiki fell to the ground. However, like Komamura Sajin, he has no idea of resting in peace. Sorry, Captain Kuchiki. Maybe I can only say goodbye to you. Advertisement. After all, your Zanpakuto is already booked. I have always owed Mr. Hokage this debt, and I feel uneasy. I have wronged you. Please contribute Senbon Sakura today. While talking, Aizen Sosuke stepped in front of Byakuya Kuchiki. As soon as the words fell, he swung Zanpakuto violently under the gaze of Byakuya Kuchiki's rapidly shrinking pupils. Stop. In the battle between the captain-level Shinigami, all the talkers of the Soul Society are usually used to fighting alone. For things like dust, whether it is 1 grain or 2 grains, it makes no difference to the naked eye. With observation haki, he predicted Jashiro Yukitaki's movements early on. Seeing Jashiro Yukitaki teleporting to Luo Hao's back in an instant, and then slashing down with a knife, Whitebeard in the distance immediately reminded him. Before Whitebeard could speak, Jashiro Yukitaki's Zanpakuto pierced his stomach. Also makes Jashiro Yukitaki a bit unexpected. The scene froze Whitebeard. Old man, don't be so nervous. After all, Shinigami who can become the captain is not a person who is extremely confident in his own strength. Purely to avoid offending the dignity of other captains. It's not that they pity the enemy, what kind of chivalry is there? Boy Luo, be careful. Others rashly intervene without the other party's permission, which will arouse the other party's dissatisfaction every minute. But that's only in general cases. Now the 2 captains, Komamura Sajin and Byakuya Kuchiki, were knocked down one after another, and they looked like they were about to die on the spot. Of course the other speakers couldn't remain indifferent. As long as you wipe it lightly, it will be cleaned. Luo Hao didn't even look at Jashiro Yukitaki, who was dodging behind him, but raised his head leisurely and said to Whitebeard. Puff. In addition to Yamamoto Genryusai and Unohana Retsu, Jashiro Yukitaki and Kiyoraku Shunsui, who are the most powerful, both went out. Advertisement. Chapter 218. In the matter of pretending, there is absolutely no possibility of him overturning. Advertisement. No way. This must be fake. How could he, a man who pretends to be like the wind, turn his head over the matter of pretending? When Zhang Chulin and others saw Luo Hao being stabbed by Zanpakuto of Jashiro Yukatake, their first reaction was disbelief. The second reaction was that this incident was fake. They were unwilling to believe that a man like Luo Hao who was born to pretend would overturn his car. There is still the possibility of overturning if the Whitebeard is replaced, but Luo Hao will never. In the matter of pretending, he has absolutely no chance of overturning. Isn't this too simple? Not to mention Zhang Chulin and others, even Jashiro Yukatake found it unbelievable. In his opinion, with the strength Luo Hao showed just now, his knife can only prevent Luo Hao from cutting off Komamura Sagen's wrist at most, and it is impossible to hurt Luo Hao at all. But the scene in front of him made him feel unbelievable. He actually stabbed Zanpakuto into Luo Hao's belly. Yes, it's that simple. Just when Jashiro Yukatake was in doubt, a joking voice suddenly sounded in his ear. Before he could react, there was a sudden puffing sound from his abdomen. What? Jashiro Yukatake turned pale, then looked down. He discovered that his abdomen had been pierced by a Zanpakuto. When he turned his head around with difficulty, he found that Luo Hao, who was pierced by him in the abdomen just now, was standing behind him at some point, and he was still unscathed. What time exactly? Jashiro Yukatake was hacked painfully, and also stupidly hacked. With his strength, it is impossible for Luo Hao to go behind him silently, and then cut him to find out. Jashiro. Noticing Jashiro Yukatake's situation out of the corner of his eye, Kyoraku Shunsui's heart suddenly darkened. Where are your eyes looking? Leader of Beijing Band. Advertisement. Aizen Sosuke's voice suddenly rang in Kyoraku Shunsui's ear. Not good. Kyoraku Shunsui's face tightened, and he turned around and slashed without thinking. But when he turned around, he felt a huge pain in his stomach. It's clearly behind. Kyoraku Shunsui's pupils shrank, and he straightened his head with difficulty. Only then did he realize that Aizen Sosuke was actually standing in front of him, but he still couldn't see it. This is the Zanpakuto of the illusion system. Jashiro, Jingle, get off the old man. Seeing that the two major lovers were severely injured, Seraite's leading boss, Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni, finally could no longer turn a blind eye. After he yelled at Kyoraku Shunsui and Jashiro Yukatake, he grabbed the handle of the knife at his waist with his right hand, and pulled out the sword at his waist in panic as a wave of heat rolled up. Everything is reduced to ashes, Ryujin Jaka. Roaring flames soared into the sky, as if they were going to completely burn the air and spiritual seeds in the entire Seraite. Burning the city. In an instant, Luo Hao, Aizen, Zhang Chulin, Whitebeard and others were all enveloped by boundless flames. Phew. Fortunately, old man, you finally made a move. After Kyoraku Shunsui heard Yamamoto Genryusai's yell, he immediately used the empty cicada, leaving only a coat on the spot, and he had already left in a flash. However, his face did not look relaxed at all. Because, others left, but left behind Byakuya Kuchiki. The same goes for Jashiro Yukatake on the other side. He was the first to retreat, but it was too late to take Komamura Sagen away. Can only watch helplessly as Byakuya Kuchiki and Komamura Sagen are locked in flames together by Yamamoto Genryusai's Ryujin Jaka. What a pity, Captain Kuchiki. It seems that the leader of the Beijing band has abandoned you. Facing the burning city of Yamamoto Genryusai, surrounded by boundless flames, Aizen Sosuke not only did not panic at all, but also said to Byakuya Kuchiki who fell at his feet playfully. Advertisement. 0****. If you want to kill, kill, don't say more. I was just one step ahead of you. You have violated the laws of the Soul Society and betrayed Seraite. Captain Yamamoto will definitely punish you with his own hands. Byakuya Kuchiki struggled to get up from the ground. As a pretend master second only to Aizen Sosuke, he still has to maintain his poise and style. Even if it's death, keep it up. Unfortunately, Captain Yamamoto, whom you have placed high hopes on, should not be able to do it. With Captain Yamamoto's personality that can't tolerate a little bit of sand in his eyes, if he could do it, he would not trap me with Ryujin Jaka now, but burn me to death with a fire. Apparently, our Captain Yamamoto has sensed my Zanpakuto's true abilities. Aizen Sosuke shook his head with a chuckle. What is your Zanpakuto true ability? Byakuya Kuchiki is no fool either. Thinking back to how Kyoraku Shunsui and Jashiro Yukatake were injured by the weirdness just now, he seems to have caught something. Kyoka Suigetsu is not a running water system Zanpakuto. His ability is not to disturb the enemy to kill each other through the chaotic reflection of fog and water. A look of horror appeared on Byakuya Kuchiki's face. Good. Captain Kuchiki is wise, and his mind is still passable. Although your talent is not outstanding, it is not too bad either. If you continue to live and grow, maybe one day you can touch the corner of my clothes. Unfortunately, your Zanpakuto is already booked. I wanted to give you this chance, but it's gone. Saying that, Aizen Soyukai raised Zanpakuto and pierced Byakuya Kuchiki's left chest. Advertisement. Chapter 219. People can die, but you can't lose it when you're forced. Advertisement. My Senbon Sakura is reserved. Byakuya Kuchiki's face turned pale, and his pupils widened. Good. So sorry. I can only let you die. Aizen Sosuke nodded. Is it him? Byakuya Kuchiki turned his head with difficulty to look at Luo Hao not far away. Completely correct. After Aizen Sosuke finished speaking, he pulled out the Zanpakuto that had pierced Byakuya Kuchiki's left chest. I didn't expect that I would die for this reason. As soon as such a thought appeared in Byakuya Kuchiki's mind, the endless darkness engulfed his consciousness completely. At the same time, the Zanpakuto that he had just recaptured in the 747 fell to the ground again with a clang. Captain Kuchiki. Seeing this scene, Komamura Sagen's bare face was full of ugly colors. Aizen, have you fallen this far? Even Captain Kuchiki can kill. Quote. Although Byakuya Kuchiki has always given people the feeling that he has always been a high-ranking and unreasonable nobleman, even his own sister will not let it go. But it is undeniable that his every move is in line with the bearing and performance that a nobleman should have. It can be said that all his actions since he became the captain can be called aristocratic, and a model of Shinigami captain. Leading by example has almost become the motto of Byakuya Kuchiki. For Byakuya Kuchiki, the leader of the four nobles, the patriarch of the Kuchiki family, but the captain who integrates rules and regulations into his daily work and rest, he also admires from the bottom of his heart. Didn't I already say that? Captain Kuchiki's Zanpakuto is already pre-ordered. In order not to let me bear the name of defaulting on debts, I had no choice but to send Captain Kuchiki away. Quote. Advertisement. A captain was buried with a single hand, and he was also the patriarch of the Kuchiki family, the head of the four great nobles. Komamura Sagen was furious when he heard this. It's just that his injured body made it very difficult for him to even stand up. In the final analysis, it was also because the black coffin cast by Luo Hao was too powerful. Also black coffin, what Luo Hao cast is at least several times stronger than what Aizen cast. This also makes it extremely difficult for him, who is also the captain, to even stand up once he is recruited. On the contrary, Byakuya Kuchiki, at least until his death can maintain his force. Hey, did you yell, did you? Seeing Komamura Sagen yelling so persistently, Luo Hao frowned slightly, and then slowly raised the Zanpakuto in his hand. You're in league with Aizen. Soul Society will not let you wait. Well said Captain Kuchiki, I'm just waiting to go one step ahead. Soon we will meet again. Quote. Komamura Sagen seemed to sense Luo Hao's murderous intent. His expression suddenly calmed down. It seems that even if I take off one of your wrists, you won't back down. Luo Hao stared at Komamura Sagen and said, good. As long as the old man has breath, even if he crawls, he will crawl up to you and crush your throat with his teeth. Komamura Sagen saw the murderous intent gradually emerging in Luo Hao's eyes, but there was no trace of timidity on his face. Captain Kuchiki died without losing the dignity of Captain Shinigami. He, who is also one of the talkers of the 13th squad of the Guti, can't lose his character as a talker. Rather than losing a wrist and curling up on the side to survive, it would be better to die on the spot. What a pity. Advertisement. To be honest, you are not my target. It makes no difference to me whether you live or die. As long as you don't come to hinder me, then you can continue to linger on the sidelines. 0. But since you are so persistent, then I will naturally not fulfill you one after another. After Luo Hao finished speaking, Zanpakuto held in his right hand was cut off brazenly. Use your proud Zanpakuto ability to send you to meet Captain Kuchiki. Following his slashing movement, a gigantic black armored warrior immediately appeared behind him. As the black rope condemning King Ming. The black rope punishes King Ming. Just when he was deeply worried, the black armored warrior swung a huge long knife and slashed at him. When Komamura Sagen saw it, his heart suddenly felt bitter. Nice Zanpakuto ability. This kind of attack can be called the perfect Susanoo in Master Hokage's world, even worse than that. It's just that his idea couldn't be confirmed by himself after all. Aizen Sosuke narrowed his eyes immediately after watching Luo Hao use Komamura Sagen's Zanpakuto to unleash the power of a knife. The black armored warrior in front of him is his Bankai. If Luo Hao's Zanpakuto really has the ability to imitate all captains Shikai and Bankai, does that mean that Yamamoto Genryusai's Ryujin Jaka is also imitated by the 2.7 opponent? Isn't that Ryujin Jaka of Yamamoto's captain also? That's not what worries him the most. Bang. What worries him the most is Captain Yamamoto's strongest Zanpakuto, Ryujin Jaka. Even my Bankai can handle it. It's a pity that Captain Komamura doesn't seem to develop it very well, and he doesn't use it very well either. He recognized it instantly. With the power of a single knife, the land of a kilometer instantly turned into ruins. Just now Yamamoto Genryusai liberated Zanpakuto in front of Luo Hao. Advertisement. Chapter 220 I guess it's hard to pretend. Advertisement. Black Rope Scourge King Ming's sword. Such an attack, even he, Aizen Sosuke, didn't dare to directly block it with his body. Zanpakuto's abilities are also somewhat similar to Devil Fruit's abilities. In terms of innate ability, there are indeed high and low points, but this level is only the starting point, not the end. Is the Black Rope Heavenly Punishment King Ming weak? Not weak at all. Even for the user Komamura Sagen, if he went to the Hokage world, he would almost sweep the ninja world invincible in the era when 6 paths level powerhouses were not available. Even the perfect Susanoo may not be able to withstand the sword of the Black Rope Heavenly Scourge King Ming. But Komamura Sagen held such a Zanpakuto ability. In the original time and space, he was hit for a second when he met Aizen, and now he was hit for a second when he met Luo Hao. It cannot be said that his ability is weak. It can only be said that his strength is weak, and the opponent he meets is too strong. Boy Luo, what should we do now? After witnessing Komamura Sagen and Byakuya Kuchiki being tossed, 30 Whitebeard jumped and landed next to Luo Hao. We seem to be surrounded. Do you want to end this conference? Zhang Chulin also asked. Surrounded by Yamamoto Genryusai's Ryujin Jaka, he doesn't have much to worry about. Although the flame is terrifying, as long as it doesn't touch the body, it will be fine. Even if he encounters an invincible situation, he can directly open the passage and return to the world under one person. Fire. Freeze it for me. A cold look flashed across Asita's eyes, and he pressed his right hand to the ground. The piercing cold burst out. The ice that froze everything swept towards the flames in front of him like a tide. It's just that Tegu, who was always in her favor in the past, returned without success this time. Advertisement. Her ice was melted before it even got close to Yamamoto Genryusai's flames. What kind of flame is this? A trace of fear appeared on Asita's face. Her ice connection was melted when she couldn't even do it. This was the first time she encountered such a thing. The strongest and oldest Zanpakuto of the hot type. Even in the state of Shikai, the temperature of the flame is already equal to the surface of the sun. Aizen Sosuke explains. Hiss, equal to the surface of the sun. What about Bankai, Whitebeard, Cheomung, Asitas and others felt their scalps tingling when they heard this. What a terrifying power this is. A handful of Zanpakuto can ignite as much flame as the surface of the sun. Even those strong men standing at the top of their respective worlds dare not imagine. Honestly, even I don't know what Yamamoto's Zanpakuto Bankai looks like. Aizen Sosuke spoke half-truthfully. The temperature of Bankai is equal to the core of the sun. Luo Hao said lightly. What? Equivalent to the core of the sun. Ace's Mara fruit and Akainu's lava fruit are in front of it. When Whitebeard heard this, his expression changed immediately. As you can imagine, their abilities are nothing compared to old man Yamamoto's Bankai. Luo Hao glanced at Whitebeard, and said word for word. Ace's Mara fruit can withstand the temperature of thousands of degrees. Otherwise, it will not be destroyed in the face of lava fruit's ability, 10 strokes. Advertisement. And Akainu's lava fruit, even if he develops to the point of awakening, coupled with the increase of armament haki, it is impossible to exceed the temperature of the sun's surface. This kind of power is incomparable with the old man Yamamoto's Bankai, who can continue to burn and release Zanpakuto with a temperature of 15 million degrees all the time. Sun core. It is estimated that this force cannot be pretended. Whitebeard smiled wryly. Legend has it that once Bankai, Captain Yamamoto, does nothing. Simply maintaining Bankai's time course, Soul Society will be destroyed. Aizen Sosuke glanced at Luo Hao and Zhang Chulin, secretly thinking that skirt friends who know everything are troublesome. What he found out after investigating for so long, these two people found out easily. Is not this nonsensical? A handful of Zanpakuto equivalent to the core of the sun appeared in a small soul society. No matter how amazing this soul society is, it can't handle Zanpakuto like this. Whitebeard shook his head. At this time, he just understood why Aizen Sosuke 837 is so powerful. Aizen Sosuke is in the Shinigami world, a place where even a strong man like Yamamoto Genryusai can exist, so it is normal to have such strength. Interesting. I really like this world. After the initial shock, Asitas showed a strong fighting spirit on his face. A world with so many strong men, with so many mighty Zanpakuto, was too much for her to conquer. Captain Aizen, so what do we do now? When we are trapped, the Gote 13th Division will not do nothing. When they organize their action plan and dissipate the flames, what we have to face will not be the battle just now. Ichimaru Jin seemed to be kindly reminding, but in fact he was testing Luo Hao and Aizen's thoughts. A single Aizen would cost him everything to deal with. Another one whose purpose is unknown and whose strength is unknown, the only thing that is certain is Luo Hao, who is even more terrifying than Aizen, so Ichimaru Jin is more cautious. Advertisement. Chapter 221 to Kyoka Suigetsu. Advertisement. As Ichimaru Jin said, after Yamamoto Genryusai Shikai trapped Luo Hao and the others with Ryujin Jaka, he was indeed discussing countermeasures. What a horror. It's fine if Aizen has such strength. How could that human who came out of nowhere have such strength? Glancing at the flames in front of him, Laquanshui felt relieved. He still has confidence in Yamamoto Genryusai's Zanpakuto ability. Even just Shikai still has invincible power. It's kind of incomprehensible. We should pay attention to all human beings with strong spiritual power in this world. But we don't know anything about this human being. He just popped out of nowhere. Sui Feng walked over, a little unbelievable. It's terrifying to crush the strength of a Shinigami captain with every gesture. This made Sui Feng face Luo Hao and couldn't help thinking that the other party was Captain Shinigami and that he was just an ordinary human being. It's a bit late to investigate the other party at this time. The thing to do now is to think about the strategy against him. Unohana Retsu spoke suddenly. Against him. Hearing the words, many speakers present couldn't help but think of the various abilities that Luo Hao showed just now. Abandoning the chant and displaying Jinpei's full chant power of no. 90 Black Coffin. Komamura Sajin behind Bankai can be completely crushed with just one hit. Zanpakuto can easily cast the Shikai, Bankai of many captains. These 2 points alone made Sui Feng and others feel unparalleled pressure. Advertisement. Old Man Sean, this group of people is not easy to deal with. Let's not talk about the strength of the few people who stood on the roof and didn't make a move just now. Just the man that the gang calls Hokage-sama, and Aizen Sosuke are pretty tough. And, Aizen is surrounded by a man covered in black robes. His presence makes me very disturbed. I suspect that he is one of the captains of Gote's 13th Division. Hieraku Shunsui's words stunned everyone. Impossible. Except for Captain Komamura and Captain Kuchiki who are trapped inside, all our captains are here. Hitsugaya Toshiro said in a deep voice. Have you forgotten the ability that the man named Hokage and Aizen used just now? Hiroku Shunsui's rhetorical question made everyone's expressions change in horror. All of us have been played by Aizen. His Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu's abilities are not at all what he was claimed to be before. I suspect that his Zanpakuto is the ability of the illusion department, and it is the strongest Zanpakuto of the illusion department. Jashiro Yukitaki paused word by word. What? When Sui Feng and other speakers heard this, their expressions changed drastically. No matter which type of Zanpakuto it is, it will become extremely scary if you put the word, strongest, on it. Yamamoto Genryusai's hottest Zanpakuto is the best example. Of course, Hitsugaya Toshiro's Hiranmaru is an exception. After all, Zanpakuto, the strongest Zanpakuto, has only appeared once since the history of Soul Society. Old Man Sean, what is the strongest Zanpakuto in the hallucination system? Hiroku Shunsui looked at Yamamoto Genryusai. What he can think of, as the history of the Soul Society, is also a living dictionary. Yamamoto Genryusai has no reason not to think. Advertisement. I've already asked Sasaki to look up ancient books. Answers coming soon, Yamamoto Genryusai said flatly. After hearing this, everyone could only wait patiently. After all, without figuring out Aizen Sosuke's abilities, it's hard to target him. Especially there is an even scarier Luo Hao next to it. Judging from his brutal killing of Komamura Sajin just now, it is obvious that he also knows how to use Kyoka Suigetsu. When Sui Feng heard the sound, his hair exploded on the spot. Another Zanpakuto that can simulate the abilities of all Shikai and Bankai. If you don't investigate Luo Hao's origins and abilities clearly, and formulate targeted countermeasures, then there is no way to fight. Sinner Shihuin Yoruichi. A handful of the strongest Zanpakuto in the hallucination system is enough to make people's hair stand on end. It's you. Like an abandoned daughter-in-law, she decisively turned her head and raised her knife to stab the chocolate-colored beauty behind her, Shihuin Yoruichi. Sui Feng, stop making trouble. As the strongest Shinigami. Facing Sui Feng who exploded, Shihuin Yoruichi shook his head helplessly, then stretched out his hand and pressed it on the head of the other party, Li Jiaohao, like lightning, followed by a burst of stroking. Sui Feng, who was furious just now, was stroked by Shihuin Yoruichi like a cat, and immediately snuggled into Shihuin Yoruichi's arms docilely. If he didn't even realize that Shihuin Yoruichi was hiding nearby, then he really was the strongest Shinigami. Are you not afraid that the old man will deal with you now? Shihuin Yoruichi, do you dare to come back? Seeing Shihuin Yoruichi Sui Feng like a cat, Hiroku Shunsui and others who were familiar with her are also a little dumbfounded. The only one who can Shinigami captain like a cat is Shihuin Yoruichi. Seeing Shihuin Yoruichi suddenly appear, Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni didn't make any noise. While everyone was waiting patiently, a slightly frivolous voice suddenly sounded. Backquote about Aizen's Zanpakuto, I think I can answer you. Advertisement. Chapter 222. Genuine licensed products lose to counterfeit parallel imports. Advertisement. Okay, sir, no matter what time, you still deal with these imaginary things. Aizen's true face and abilities have been exposed. Haven't you figured out what happened to me and Urahara back then? Shihuin Yoruichi gave Yamamoto Genryusai an annoyed look. What do you know? Yamamoto Genryusai was silent for a few seconds before changing the subject. Apparently, as Shihuin Yoruichi said, the interrogation just now was nothing more than a scene. After being exposed in person by Shihuin Yoruichi, he simply stopped being polite and got straight to the point. Kyoka Suigetsu is actually a Zanpakuto from complete hypnosis. As long as anyone has seen Aizen Shikai, his five senses will be completely dominated by Aizen. Aizen can manipulate everything he comes into contact with, such as appearance, form, quality, feel, and even smell. In other words, if Aizen activates ability 483 and asks you to regard me as him, then you will also regard me as him without hesitation. Therefore, you must not fight in groups against him. Anyone who has seen him Kyoka Suigetsu Shikai, no matter how many people there are, is a burden. Unless you haven't seen his Kyoka Suigetsu Shikai. Shihuin Yoruichi slowly conveyed the horror of Kyoka Suigetsu. Hiss. But everyone who heard what she said, without exception, felt their scalps go numb. Even the strongest Shinigami like Yamamoto Genryusai felt a bit tricky. If his Zanpakuto symbolizes the strongest attack and is invincible in the front, then Aizen's ability is invincible and invincible in sneak attack. It can be said that no one can play Aizen Sosuke as long as they play Yin. Really, Zanpakuto, who has the reputation of being the strongest, is tough. Advertisement. The most troublesome thing is that there is not only a handful of Zanpakuto like this. Shihuin Yoruichi glanced at the people with ugly faces, and then spoke again. Do you know that man named Hokage? Did he also participate in that incident more than 100 years ago? Jashiro Yukitaki asked. Not as far as I know. I don't know anything about him. Shihuin Yoruichi said. Damn it, how to deal with such Zanpakuto? You can use our Shikai, Bankai. Even Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu can use it, so he doesn't even Yamamoto. When Hitsugaya Toshiro said this, his voice paused. When the others heard the words, they reacted after being startled. Not good. Even if he can imitate Kyoka Suigetsu, can't he also use Ryujin Jaka, the captain of Yamamoto? Thinking of this, while all the captains felt chills all over the place, they couldn't help looking at the flames that shot up to the sky not far away with horrified eyes. Master. You are the master of Ryujin Jaka. Are you sure that if someone can also use Ryujin Jaka, your Zanpakuto can trap that person? Shihoin Yoruichi asked with a serious face. If that man can really imitate my Ryujin Jaka perfectly, and exert the same power as my Ryujin Jaka, then, can't be trapped. Yamamoto Genryusai glanced at everyone, and then spit out an answer that no one wanted to hear. It is impossible to have such a perfect Zanpakuto. Advertisement. If they can perfectly simulate the Zanpakuto of all of us, they will probably be shocked. Jashiro Yukitaki suddenly pointed at the sky of Soul Society. But they were still not disturbed. This also means that this man is not relying on the sealed state to awaken Zanpakuto. He created Zanpakuto entirely with his spiritual powers. Only in this way can we explain why they were not alarmed. Facing the sneak attack of the instant Yoruichi Soul Society, the two can only drink their hatred on the spot. Silence. Old man, I think you need to act on your own once. The more clearly the analysis of Luo Hao's ability is made, the more depressing the people present will be. You want me to pardon Urahara Kazuki and Hirako Shinji? Shihoin Yoruichi nodded, and then, under the stunned eyes of everyone, he pulled out Zanpakuto and smacked the necks of Ichimaru Jin and Tusen Kanami like lightning. Face off against a man who Kido is invincible and can use their Shikai, Bankai abilities. Although you are not willing to bear it, judging from the abilities he has displayed, the degree to which he simulates the abilities of our Shikai and Bankai is no less than that of the original Dishi. Shihoin Yoruichi sighed. Good. Even to put it a bit harshly, Jakaho Reikoben, Senbon Sakura Kajiyoshi, and Black Rope Tenkumayo, the man named Hokage used these three Bankai's abilities better than Sui Feng, Zai, and Captain Komamura. Quote. I watched his Zanpakuto in the dark just now. Depressed. Yamamoto Genryusai immediately understood Shihoin Yoruichi's intentions. After a long silence, Shihoin Yoruichi spoke again. Sui Feng and others already felt suffocated by the mountains, but now that Kiraku Shunsui said this, it was equivalent to moving an extra mountain to crush their hearts. The two captains of the Shinigami seemed not to have expected Shihoin Yoruichi to suddenly attack them. They really don't know how to fight. Advertisement. Chapter 223 The 46 room has been destroyed. Advertisement. Yoruichi, Kiraku Shunsui and others saw this scene, although their faces were a little shocked, but no one made a move to Shihoin Yoruichi. As you can see, besides Aizen and Ichimaru Jin, there is also Tusen Kanami who harmed us 100 years ago. You know their strength. Even if I sneak attack, is it that easy? Shihoin Yoruichi explained right away. Although every aspect is flawless, I can't find any flaws, but it is also because there are no flaws that it seems strange. Their corpses are the same ones that Aizen used to fake death before. Makes me always feel something is wrong. Combined with what Yoruichi just said about Kyoka Suigetsu, then I can be sure. The corpses of Tusen Kanami and Ichimaru Jin in front of you are fake. Hana Retsu knelt down and carefully examined the bodies of the two. Soon she realized something was wrong. Although she couldn't tell the truth from the fake, but as the first-generation Kenpachi, coupled with his years of saving lives and healing the wounded, he was too sensitive to corpses. And many more. There seems to be only one man in black robe inside. So Tusen Kanami or Ichimaru Jin are probably hiding by our side, or are still active in other places in Seraiti, carrying out some plans that we don't know about. Hitsugaya Toshiro suddenly came to his senses. Don't let your guard down. Whether it's Ichimaru Jin or Tusen Kanami on the outside, their abilities are great for sneak attacks. If they are negligent, even the captains who are stronger than them will be held hostage by their knives. Back then, Shinji and the others were the best example. Shihoin Yoruichi looked around with a vigilant face. The other captains also woke up their spirits. Their crimes are determined by all 46 rooms. Advertisement. Yamamoto Genryusai was about to say something, but was immediately interrupted by a familiar yet unfamiliar voice. I think you don't have to worry about room 46 anymore, old man. Everyone looked back and saw a man wearing a hat and clogs walking slowly from behind. Kazuki. When Kiraku Shunsui and others saw Urahara Kazuki coming, they were all overjoyed. This battle has not yet begun, and their Guti 13th squad has lost 5 captains. Now the resourceful Urahara Kazuki is back and sure to be a new force. What do you mean by that? Yamamoto Genryusai narrowed his eyes slightly. I dived into Soul Society immediately after receiving Yoruichi's notice. After returning to this familiar place, the first place I went to was room 46. But guess, what did I see there? Urahara Kazuki looked at Yamamoto Genryusai gravely. Room 46 has been destroyed by Aizen. Judging from the wounds on their bodies, Aizen should have done it. That is to say, the reason why room 46 issued so many weird orders during this period is because Aizen gave it by people who were pretending to be in room 46. Quote. Urahara Kazuki's words made the people present speechless. They found more shocks than the past few hundred years put together. If it was normal, and they learned that room 46 had been massacred, it would definitely be a shock. But now, after they heard the news from Urahara Kazuki, they were all very quiet. Aizen Sosuke, the unpardonable sinner. After a while, this oppression and silence was broken with the opening of Yamamoto Genryusai. Old man Sean, how are you doing? Room 46 was killed, and now you are the leader of the Soul Society. 0 for flowers. Advertisement. Can't you still be the master? Shihuan Yoruichi said in a deep voice. Old man Sean, I think you really have to act on your own this time. With the current strength of the 13th Squadron of the Gote, they can't deal with the group of people in the flames. That man has Aizen and your Zanpakuto in his hands, and he won't know when he will come out. Hieraku Shunsui also agreed with Shihuan Yoruichi's proposal. Shihuan Yoruichi. Yamamoto Genryusai was silent for a few seconds, then spoke. Yes, Urahara Kazuki felt a little relieved. Anyway. But she is one of the 4 nobles after all, the patriarch of the Shihuan family. After room 46 is rebuilt, the old man will come forward to persuade the new sage to rehabilitate you. You can't bear the reputation of a sinner and a traitor all your life. Go find Hirako and the others. Shihuan Knight. Hearing Yamamoto Genryusai's tone, a hint of joy appeared between his brows. Although Yamamoto Genryusai did not directly pardon them, but being able to say this is already a pardon. Old man, you are enlightened. I think with so many people working together, Hokage Aizen and his group should be left behind. If she could wash it off, of course she would be happy to wash it off. 0. Yamamoto Genryusai said every word. The old man would like to guarantee you as the captain of the 13th Division of the court. The return of Urahara Kazuki, Shihuan Yoruichi, and Hirako Shinji immediately boosted the strength of the Gote 13th Division, which suffered a heavy loss. Although life in this world is not bad, she is quite nostalgic. As long as you, Urahara Kazuki, and Hirako Shinji have made meritorious service in the battle against Hokage, Aizen, and others. Hieraku Shunsui also laughed with relief. Advertisement. Chapter 224 Old Man Yamamoto, if you have a whole card, show it. Advertisement. I have notified them. It is estimated that it will be here soon. Hieraku Shunsui and others smiled even more at Urahara Kazuki's words. Your Excellency Captain, although Hirako and the others have returned, our Gote 13th squad has been replenished, but facing the group of people inside is still not optimistic. Don't forget, only the man named Hokage and the sinner, Aizen Sosuke, were the only ones who made the move. The Whitebeard man after defeating Bankai, the black-haired young man, the orange-haired traveler, the woman with the long sword and the creature that looks like a kangaroo. None of their accomplices have ever made a move. 697 knows nothing about their strength and ability. Even if their strength is not as good as Hokage and Aizen, but if everyone is at the level of the Whitebeard man, it is really hard to say whether our Gote 13th Division can win them. Hana Retsu reminded. Ryujin Jaka can't trap them for long. We don't have much time to think and plan. After Hirako and the others return to the team, I will personally stop that Hokage. As for Aizen, when Yamamoto Genryusai mentioned Aizen Sosuke, his face suddenly became gloomy. Judging from the current strength of Aizen Sosuke, although he is not as good as Luo Hao, he is still an extremely difficult character. Especially since everyone here has watched Kyoka Suigetsu's Shikai, they have almost no resistance in front of Kyoka Suigetsu. In this case, the siege would have no effect on Aizen Sosuke, instead it would turn into cannibalism every minute. He gave it to me and Yoruichi. Just when Yamamoto Genryusai was in a bit of trouble, Urahara Kazuki suddenly stepped out. Advertisement. Haven't you seen Kyoka Suigetsu? Hieraku Shunsui glanced at Urahara Kazuki in surprise. How is this possible? When I created Hogyoku, Aizen expressed fear of me and even wanted to get rid of me. How could I not have watched Kyoka Suigetsu with how much he fears me? Urahara Kazuki smiled wryly. Then how are you going to deal with him? Urahara Kazuki, what happened this time is no joke. The origin of this group of people is too mysterious, and Aizen's ambition is too terrifying. Once we fail, maybe Seraiti and even the Soul Society will cease to exist. Yamamoto Genryusai said in a deep voice. If Aizen hasn't got that thing yet, it's possible to kill him. If I can get it, I can only delay him at most. So Captain Yamamoto, if you still have any whole cards, don't hide them, and don't worry so much. Once the battle is defeated, the result will be as you said, nothing. Urahara Kazuki seemed to see Yamamoto Genryusai's concerns. Does the old man still use you to teach? Yamamoto Genryusai glared at Urahara Kazuki. Obviously, he is very dissatisfied that Urahara Kazuki, who has only lived for a few hundred years, dares to teach himself a living fossil of the Soul Society. However, he also knew that Urahara Kazuki had a point. You all stay away from the old man later. By the way, let the vice captain arrange the nobles of Seraiti, the team members withdraw from Seraiti, and then open the enchantment. Advertisement. Yamamoto Genryusai pondered for a while, and then issued one combat command after another. Father, do you want to turn Seraiti into a battlefield? Hieraku Shunsui's expression changed. 0. But thinking of Yamamoto Genryusai's Zanpakuto ability, and thinking that once the opponent makes a real move, then Seraiti may really lose it. That's the only way. A dozen captain-level Shinigami battle, even the Seraiti can't stand it. The only thing I can do is save the people of Seraiti. As long as people are still there, Seraiti can still be rebuilt even if it is destroyed. Yamamoto Genryusai said in a deep voice. I understand, Yuan Lujai teacher. Hearing this, Jashiro Yukitaki immediately asked his deputy captain to carry out Yamamoto Genryusai's order. The other Shinigami captains also ordered their vice captains to evacuate the nobles and players of Seraiti. Seeing Luo Hao's power to instantly kill a captain-level Shinigami with one blow, they all know that except for a few vice-captains who were as strong as the captain, 10 kinds of vice-captains are not qualified to intervene in such a war. Rather than letting them sacrifice for no reason, it is better to preserve the fire of the 13th Division of the court. Obviously, Yamamoto Genryu Sai, Hiraku Shunsui and other Shinigami captains, they are all prepared for the worst. Later Hirako and the others. On 1.6, I will immediately take Hokage away. Urahara, you and Yoruichi hold Aizen. As for the other captains, be sure to kill all enemies except Hokage and Aizen as quickly as possible. The old man allows you to use any means. Yamamoto Genryu Sai glanced at the crowd, and gave instructions word by word. Sheila. Just when Kiraku Shunsui, Unohana Retsu and others responded decisively to Yamamoto Genryu Sai, there was a sound of atmospheric tearing from the flames soaring into the sky. The sudden sound shocked Yamamoto Genryu Sai and the other Shinigami captains to their scalps. Advertisement. Chapter 225 Master Hokage, can you go too far? Advertisement. Old man Sean, your Ryujin Jaka can't handle it so soon. Hiraku Shunsui suddenly turned his head, his eyes fixed on the huge fire wave rising into the sky in front of him. If Hokage really mastered the old man's Ryujin Jaka, it would not be easy to trap them until now. I just want Ryujin Jaka to be too powerful now, he can't control me to this level. As soon as Yamamoto Genryu Sai finished speaking, everyone noticed that the soaring fire wave in front of them actually started to disperse towards both sides. In just a short moment, the flame channel that can accommodate several people appeared in everyone's sight. I didn't expect that. With so many of you combined, you are even worse than me alone. Quote. Under the watchful eyes of Yamamoto Genryu Sai and others, Luo Hao slowly walked out from the split flame passage. You are all violators of the Seraiti law, unforgivable crimes. I don't think it's too much to deal with you with any inferior means. When Shihu and Yoruichi 30 looked around and found Byakuya Kuchiki's body lying quietly in a pool of blood, her face suddenly became extremely cold. For her, Byakuya Kuchiki is a good friend who played with her since she was a child, and she can even be called a younger brother. But just now she was too late to save Byakuya Kuchiki, and when she saw him again, she found that Byakuya Kuchiki had become a cold corpse. This scene fell in her eyes, instantly detonating her murderous intent. Is it that serious? You can accuse me of killing Komamura Sajin. But if you blame me because of Byakuya Kuchiki, or even want to seek revenge from me, then you don't have to. Because I wasn't the one who killed Byakuya Kuchiki. But your old friend, Captain Aizen. Seeing Shihu and Yoruichi's gaze wandering over Byakuya Kuchiki's body, Luo Hao immediately understood why her reaction was so agitated. Advertisement. Aizen. When Shihu and Yoruichi heard this, his sharp gaze immediately shifted to Aizen Sosuke. Coincidentally, her and Urahara Kazuki's opponent is none other than Aizen. I think if eyes could kill, I would have been hacked to pieces by you Captain Yoruichi. Facing Shihu and Yoruichi's murderous gaze, Aizen Sosuke chuckled leisurely. The grievances of 100 years ago, and the hatred of little Byakuya, let's settle them together today. It's fine that Aizen Sosuke doesn't speak. His flirtatious, nonchalant gesture completely ignited Shihu and Yoruichi's anger. Call out. How fast is Flash Goddess in rage? At this moment, Shihu and Yoruichi interpreted it very clearly with practical actions. Configurations like Hitsugaya Toshiro, Sui Feng are just entry-level captains, they can't even see when Shihu and Yoruichi moves. In their eyes, Shihu and Yoruichi, who was standing beside him, had already come to Aizen Sosuke, and swept out a sharp whip kick. I don't know whether Shihu and Yoruichi hated Luo Hao together, or heard the reason why Luo Hao asked Aizen Sosuke to deal with Byakuya Kuchiki before. When her whip leg swept towards Aizen Sosuke, the other leg swept towards Luo Hao like a knife. Yoruichi, don't be impulsive. Those two guys can use Kyoka Suigetsu. If you approach rashly, it will be easy to finish. Urahara Kazuki also didn't expect Shihu and Yoruichi to be so impulsive. It was so impulsive to start. If you approach rashly, it will be easy to end. This sentence sounds really funny. Advertisement. Regardless of approaching rashly. Or approach cautiously. Or not at all results are the same. This is not announcing the future. But from the moment you declared war on me by all means, death has become an established fact that cannot escape the past. Just when Aizen Sosuke was about to block Shihu and Yoruichi's attack and then pretend to his heart's content, Luo Hao's voice suddenly sounded. One more slow step. Hokage-sama, can you go any further? I only thought of half of this line, and he actually said it to me in full. Aizen Sosuke froze when he heard it. 950. He was forced to pretend by Luo Hao in front of him again, which not only made him almost mentally explode, but also almost got kicked by Shihu and Yoruichi because of it. It's Kyoka Suigetsu again. When he heard Urahara Kazuki's words, Shihu and Yoruichi's head filled with anger was mostly awake. As Luo Hao's voice reached her ears, it was like a basin of cold water was poured on her head, making her whole body tremble. The whip leg that was about to sweep Luo Hao's body not only stopped forcibly, but also retreated backward like lightning in an instant. Are you all right, Knight? Urahara Kazuki was slightly relieved when he saw Shihu and Yoruichi returning intact. Fine. If it's estimated later, Shihu and Yoruichi was about to wipe the cold sweat off his forehead when he felt a sharp pain near his waist. Before she could react, Urahara Kazuki in front of her had already slashed her with a knife and sent her flying 1,000 meters away. Advertisement. Chapter 226 Yamamoto Genryu Sai, I approve of you. Advertisement. Kyoka Suigetsu. Damn, this ability is really troublesome. It's not for fighting, it's not for not fighting. Unable to react completely, Shihoin Yoruichi realized that he had been hit by Kyoka Suigetsu again without a sound, until he was severely injured and flew upside down 1,000 meters away and hit the ground fiercely. Yoruichi. At this time, Urahara Kazuki and others also reacted from the spirit. Don't go. Just when the captains who had made friends with Shihoin Yoruichi were about to go over, Yamamoto Genryusai stopped them with one hand. Shihoin Yoruichi clearly hit Kyoka Suigetsu. At this time, if we approach her rashly, we may become enemies in her eyes. At that time, she will directly launch a fierce attack on us every minute. Yamamoto Genryusai said in a deep voice. So what should I do now? Even Kyoraku Shunsui, who has experienced strong winds and waves, felt extremely tricky at this moment. Among other things, just two Kyoka Suigetsu are like two long knives hanging above their heads, ready to fall at any time. It is neither to let them enter nor to retreat. Follow the original plan. When Yamamoto Genryusai stared at Luo Hao, a haze flashed in his eyes. He was mentally prepared for the worst. If there is no way to take down Luo Hao at the end of the battle, then he will desperately destroy all life and matter in front of him. As long as everything in Seraiti ceases to exist, neither Luo Hao nor Aizen will cease to exist. Do it. Advertisement. Sui Feng, Yunohana Retsu and others glanced at each other, and rushed towards Zhang Shulan, Whitebeard and others behind Luo Hao. At the same time, Yamamoto Genryusai also pulled out Ryujin Jaka from his waist again. Torch. Almost at the moment when he drew his sword, the raging flames that soared into the sky immediately turned into a tornado of flames that devoured and burned everything and enveloped Luo Hao. This knife not only wanted to use the speed to catch Luo Hao by surprise, but also wanted to prevent him from launching Kyoka Suigetsu and force him away from the battlefield. Hey, is it really okay for you to do this? Speaking of which, to you Seraiti, I'm just a guest. Aizen is your main target. Seeing Yamamoto Genryusai rushing towards him like a tiger, Luo Hao spoke helplessly, but his face was full of relaxed smiles. After the old man cuts you under the knife, the next one will be Aizen. Yamamoto Genryusai was like the god of flame, manipulating the flame tornado that connected the sky and the earth of Seraiti to completely swallow Luo Hao. Confidence is a good thing, but if there is too much of it, it becomes conceited. Facing the flaming tornado that enveloped him from all directions, Luo Hao not only did not panic at all, but actually reached out his hand into the flaming tornado in front of Yamamoto Genryusai's horrified gaze. Chi. With the sound of objects being burned, one of Luo Hao's arms disappeared instantly. Is this guy crazy? Yamamoto Genryusai is a little unbelievable. Originally, he thought that Luo Hao was going to use Ryujin Jaka to confront him. It's not that he is arrogant, but in his opinion, all Zanpakuto can fight against Ryujin Jaka and only Ryujin Jaka. In his opinion, Luo Hao must use his Zanpakuto ability to fight against him. But he never expected that the other party would put his hand directly into the flames. What a terrible flame. Advertisement. Even just Shikai is enough to burn everything. Surprise flashed in Luo Hao's eyes. How strong is his body? No one is stronger than him. Conventional ninjutsu, even blood succession limitation, couldn't shake his body. Except for the elimination of blood successors like Dust Dun, even Terumi Mei's lava style and boil style can destroy even Susanoo, but they can't shake his body. Yamamoto Genryusai, I approve of you. But your Ryujin Jaka can make your hands feel pain that you haven't seen for a long time. Hearing this, Yamamoto Genryusai was silent for a few seconds, and then with him as the center, a terrifying heat wave spread in all directions. Luo Hao only felt the long-lost blood surge in his body. But now, Yamamoto Genryusai's Ryujin Jaka, even just Shikai still has the destructive power to burn his body. Recognize the old man. Click. Luo Hao suddenly looked up at Yamamoto Genryusai beyond the flames, and slammed his right hand into the air. Even if he was invited by Whitebeard to go to One Piece World to participate in Zhao's Summit War, he was only slightly excited. But this time, Yamamoto Genryusai holding Ryujin Jaka not only ignited his long-lost blood, but even had a strong desire to dance. In just a few moments, this heat wave has swept across the entire Seraiti, giving all Shinigami a feeling of being in the heat of a crater. Moreover, for the live broadcasting business, he stopped after just warming up a little, not even dancing. For this alone, I approve of you. The flame tornado that was about to devour him was instantly scattered. But to say that the blood is boiling, it is not at all. Since I stepped into the pinnacle of the ninja world, I haven't felt pain for a long time. As the space exploded, a majestic shock wave spread out immediately. Boy, do you know what you're talking about? Advertisement. Chapter 227 The old man holding Ryujin Jaka is arrogant. Advertisement. Old man Sean is about to get angry. Feeling the overwhelming heat wave, Kyoraku Shunsui, who had already surrounded Zhang Shulan, Whitebeard and others, couldn't help looking at Yamamoto Genryusai in the distance. This feeling, he is so familiar, and he hasn't felt it for too long. It actually made teacher Yuan Lujai angry. Jashiro Yukitaki is a little nervous. He knows better than anyone how terrifying Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni is in a state of rage. This is a nightmare not just for the enemies, but also for the Seraiti, and even the Soul Society. Captain Aizen, it looks like your good friend is in some trouble. The old man is showing off his power, but not everyone can handle it. The corner of Ichimaru Jin's mouth raised a strange arc. Silver, Don't judge him with your old eyes. He is beyond the rules, standing at the end of the rules, a man who can make rules. Aizen Sosuke just glanced in Luo Hao's direction, then looked away. He knows Luo Hao's strength better than anyone else. Yamamoto Genryusai 590 in rage is scary, but if you want to beat that man with Ryujin Jaka, that's just nonsense. Do you dare to be distracted while fighting us? Just when Aizen Sosuke was secretly paying attention to Luo Hao, a cold drink rang in his ears in vain. At the same time, the whip leg that was faster than the sound hit his chest fiercely. Distracted. Captain Yoruichi, do you have a wrong understanding of the word distraction? If you and I are evenly matched, then that's called distraction. In our current situation, it should be more accurate to use the word ignore. Aizen Sosuke took Shihun Yoruichi's blow head on and stood still. Not to mention hurt, not even a shake. So hard. Advertisement. Shihun Yoruichi's face was a little ugly. What's the matter, Yoruichi? Urahara Kazuki asked with concern immediately after seeing Shihun Yoruichi retreating. There is something wrong with Aizen's body. I feel his body is stronger than Vasto Lord's steel skin. You may not believe it. When I kicked him just now, I actually felt that my right foot was broken. Shihun Yoruichi's words changed Urahara Kazuki's expression drastically. This is not spiritual power. Urahara Kazuki glanced at Aizen Sosuke first, before hitting Shihun Yoruichi's right foot. Soon, he discovered something. As expected of you, Urahara Kazuki. In the Soul Society, the only existence that I can respect in terms of intelligence. I just used it once, and you've already noticed it. Aizen Sosuke looked at Urahara Kazuki appreciatively. What on earth is it? Urahara Kazuki suddenly found that Aizen Sosuke in front of him became extremely strange. It is like two people with the Aizen Sosuke from 100 years ago. Look, you'll know if you don't. Aizen Sosuke slowly raised his right hand and pointed in the direction where Luo Hao and Yamamoto Genryusai were. This is. Urahara Kazuki and Shihun Yoruichi glanced in the direction Aizen Sosuke was pointing from the corner of their eyes, as if seeing something unbelievable. Their bodies vibrated uncontrollably. Dave. This old man is the captain of the 13th Squadron of the Gote. Yamamoto Genryusai. Little devil, I want to comment on the old man, but you are 1,000 years too early. Not only Urahara Kazuki and others, but also Kyoraku Shunsui are also quietly watching the fight between Luo Hao and Yamamoto Genryusai. Advertisement. Under their gazes, the enraged Yamamoto Genryusai threw a sentence full of endless anger, and swung Ryujin Jaka violently towards Luo Hao. Fire hell. Dozens of soaring pillars of fire pierced into the sky of Soul Society, and then quickly gathered, about to swallow Luo Hao completely. Is it hard for you to accept my words? With all due respect, the next representative must be strong. Luo Hao made a seal with one hand. Water-style great waterfall technique. A skyrocketing stream of water appeared out of thin air, rushing toward the dozens of pillars of fire like a tsunami. So you still have this ability. However, why do you think this old man is called the strongest Shinigami in the millennium? In his opinion, whether it is water or ice, they are just vulnerable things in front of Ryujin Jaka. Looking at the sudden surge of huge water, Yamamoto Genryusai was a little surprised. All your strength is but a child's play in front of this old man. Relying on the invincible power. Don't take it out again to embarrass yourself. Just as Yamamoto Genryusai imagined. These waters, and other Zanpakuto abilities, you can put away. Yamamoto Genryusai looked down at Luo Hao disdainfully. If you want to deal with this old man, you have no choice but to use Ryujin Jaka. No wonder you dare to speak out in front of this old man. See it. Hiss. Apparently, Urahara Kazuki sensed it, as did he, the living fossil of the Soul Society. As soon as Luo Hao's water style touched the pillar of fire, it was already being evaporated and turned into white mist floating around. This ability is not Shinigami's psionic power at all. The old man with Ryujin Jaka is so arrogant. However, he didn't pay attention to it. Advertisement. Chapter 228. The old man thought you were so ruthless. That's it. Is that all? Advertisement. I see. The power of Ryujin Jaka gives you the confidence to defy everything. Even me, you think that because you have your Ryujin Jaka, you can fight with you. Facing Yamamoto Genryusai's contemptuous ridicule, Luo Hao showed a calm expression. Otherwise, you can try it. Without Ryujin Jaka, even if you use Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu, see if you can take me down. Yamamoto Moto Yanagi Sashish Kuni said coldly. Such a crude aggressive method, I really can't believe it came from your mouth. However, I will fulfill you. Luo Hao took a deep look at Yamamoto Genryusai, and then laughed. What do you mean? Yamamoto Genryusai was stunned. He just said it casually. It is not expected that Luo Hao will not use Ryujin Jaka in the middle of the battle. Ryujin Jaka is all to you. Without this knife, it is vulnerable. But for me, this Zanpakuto in Vientiane is just a very small part. After Luo Hao finished speaking, he put away the Zanpakuto in his hand under the shocked gazes of Yamamoto Genryusai and Urahara Kazuki in the distance. You plan to fight the old man without Zanpakuto? Yamamoto Genryusai couldn't believe it. Right, you are the old man who ignites my long-lost blood. This is my reward for recognizing your strength. So, your worst worries are gone. Zanpakuto I will not use. You can dance as much as you want. Advertisement. Please me, let me see how much happiness the strongest Shinigami of the millennium can bring me. Luo Hao slowly raised his right hand and waved to Yamamoto Genryusai. Big words. You will die later, don't blame God. You're just asking for your own death. After Yamamoto Genryusai's initial shock and surprise, he was replaced by murderous intent. Who is he? A living fossil of the Soul Society. The strongest Shinigami of the Soul Society for thousands of years. Even Aizen Sosuke and Yhwach can only design him when facing him, and dare not confront him head-on. But Luo Hao in front of him treats him with such an attitude, seeing him as an object of pleasure, how can he not be angry? Burst. A cold light flashed in Yamamoto Genryusai's eyes. Dozens of huge fire pillars that shot straight into the sky exploded instantly. The explosion of flames enough to burn everything swallowed Luo Hao in an instant. Even Kyoraku Shunsui and the others, who had already stood far away, saw the enraged Yamamoto Genryusai perform this move, and they felt scorching hot all over their bodies, as if they were being roasted by fire. This guy should be dead, right? Even with Kyoka Suigetsu, it's useless. The surrounding 3 kilometers of land have been burned. As long as he is within Ryujin Jaka's attack range, he will surely die. Seeing how arrogant Luo Hao was, Sui Feng and the others even regarded him as a dead person. Facing Ryujin Jaka, only Ryujin Jaka can contend. This point can be seen from Hubak. Thousands of years ago, he fought directly with Yamamoto Genryusai and almost died. Bankai who took Yamamoto Genryusai 1,000 years later, this is what won. Luo Hao didn't use Zanpakuto to emulate Ryujin Jaka, and in their opinion, even using Kyoka Suigetsu might not be able to defeat Yamamoto Genryusai. It's gone. Advertisement. How dare you neglect this old man? How ruthless does this old man think you are? That's it. That's it. Maybe he was annoyed by Luo Hao. 0 for flowers. Yamamoto Genryusai, who has always been stuffy, not only has witty words, but also ruthless words. Yes, Yamamoto Genryusai once thought that Luo Hao had been burned to death by Ryujin Jaka, and even when he was about to turn around to deal with Aizen Sosuke, an indifferent voice ignored the flame explosion that resounded through Jinglingting, and reached his ears very clearly. Immediately afterwards, a red robe slowly walked out of the sky penetrating flames step by step. How so? Yamamoto Genryusai stared at Luo Hao, who was unscathed, and his old eyes were full of astonishment. It's been 2 or 3 years. If I remember correctly, the last time I used you was the time of the 3rd battle. Luo Hao is covered with a blood-red chakra that burns like a flame. From a distance, it looks like wearing a scarlet robe. How is this possible? It's normal for this Shuluo boss to have a general meeting, but how could he use such a forbidden technique for an insignificant pretend? Seeing this scene in the distance, Zhang Chulin not only exclaimed on the spot, but even her body couldn't help but tremble slightly. Billion, is there something wrong? Whitebeard asked Zhang Chulin while forming the seal to perform the birth of the tree boundary. Big mistake. In Boss Luo's world, there are some techniques called forbidden technique. Although these forbidden techniques have incredible abilities, without exception, the casters need to pay a huge price. Like life. And the forbidden technique that Boss Luo is currently using is called 8 Inner Gates. Once it is fully opened, it even has the power to propose a finale. But the price is life. Zhang Chulin said something amazing. Advertisement. Chapter 229 Strong or not is a moment, handsome or not is a lifetime. Advertisement. 8 Inner Gates. Need your life. Not far away, Aizen Sosuke, who played Urahara Kazuki and Shihuin Yoruichi between applause with his own strength, also had a flash of disbelief in his eyes. In his opinion, with Luo Hao's strength, even if he didn't need Zanpakuto to face Yamamoto Genryusai, he wouldn't have to use this deadly forbidden technique. Impossible. Not to mention that boy Luo cherishes his life very much, but with his strength, how could he use such a terrible bed? Even if that old man Sean is really that strong, it is absolutely impossible. Whitebeard unbelievable, he was the first person to approach Luo Hao in the skirt chat. Regarding the understanding of 167, Luo Hao, he believes that he is still studying Luo Hao's Aizen Sosuke all the time. How strong that old man is, I don't know. I only know that man will never give up the pretend for the rest of his life just for one pretend. Forbidden technique. If it is fatal, he will never use it. Acetus shook his head. Captain Aizen, lend me a Sage Mode experience card. Zhang Chulin changed his face, and then said to Aizen Sosuke. Can, but you have to tell me about Hokage-sama's current situation. After Aizen Sosuke knocked Urahara Kazuki into the air with a backhand punch, he shot a scroll at Zhang Chulin. Just in time, he can ask Zhang Chulin to test Luo Hao's Sage Mode. See if there is any problem. Also, figure out what the 8 Inner Gates are all about. Zhang Chulin's sentence just now has the power to kick out the finale, but it made him very concerned. This is the first time he has seen Zhang Chulin give such a high evaluation on an ability. Advertisement. Sage Mode on. Zhang Chulin, who trusts the production of Luo Hao's live broadcast room, took the Sage Mode experience card, immediately opened the scroll, and then ended up smashing it. As soon as the scroll was opened, Billion's handsome face suddenly showed many features of a toad. Not only did the eyes turn into toad eyes, but a fairy face made up of eye lines appeared on the face, and even the nose swelled a little. At this point he looks like Jiraiya in imperfect Sage Mode. It's ugly. After Zhang Chulin took a look in the mirror, the corner of his mouth couldn't help twitching. Even if it is an experience card, you still need to use some snacks, Boss Luo. How can customers be satisfied with such an ugly thing after experiencing it? Don't talk about these things. Aizen Sosuke shouted angrily, but in his heart he shouted luck. Fortunately, let Billion experience it. Otherwise, when he uses it next time, won't it damage his handsome face? Whether this is strong or not is temporary. Whether you are handsome or not is a lifetime. For Aizen Sosuke, who is not lacking in strength, he naturally knows which is more important. No matter how strong one is, if one pretends to pretend with such a toad face, the effect will definitely be greatly reduced. Sage Mode's perception should be able to figure out what's going on. Zhang Chulin made a seal and carefully sensed the changes of chakra in Luo Hao's body. It's okay if he doesn't perceive it, but when he perceives it, he is shocked. There's no reason. After casting 8 inner gates, chakra should be extremely unstable and go berserk. But Boss Luo's chakra is very ordinary and nothing different. This is how the same thing. Advertisement. The more Zhang Chulin perceives, the more he can't believe it. Gradually, an idea came to his mind. 0. This 8 inner gates is probably the same as the Flying Thunder God technique, developed by Luo Hao to a category far beyond the creator. See what? Billion. Acetus couldn't help asking. With Whitebeard's birth of the tree as a barrier, even if she is besieged by a group of captains, she still looks like she can do a job with ease. That's why she has time to pay attention to Luo Hao's 8 inner gates. I suspect, 8 inner gates is no longer a forbidden technique. This 8 inner gates formation may have been used by Boss Luo as a regular secret. Just like the Flying Thunder God technique, it can be used at will without any side effects at all. Zhang Chulin was silent for a moment, and then squeezed out a few words as if her mouth was dry and bitter. Make it clear. Aizen Sosuke pulled out Kyoka Suigetsu, knocked Shihuan Yoruichi and Urahara Kazuki to the ground, and came to Zhang Chulin in a flash. Judging from Boss Luo's situation, 8 inner gates is no longer forbidden technique in his hands. I think it has become a stable state like Sage Mode. You can enter and exit anytime, anywhere. Only 0.5 will safely increase your own strength in all directions, and there will be no side effects at all. Zhang Chulin said in a deep voice. That doesn't mean. Kick out the finale with one kick. Boss Luo can still have a lot of kicks. Zhang Chulin said every word clearly. At this moment, he finally understood why Ai Hao still dare not use Zanpakuto when facing Yamamoto who was holding Ryujin Jaka. The strength of this man is as unfathomable as Wang Yang's sea. Whenever I think I have a certain understanding of his strength, I find that what I know is just a drop in the ocean. Advertisement. Chapter 238 Inner Gates Mode. You can kick the finale with your feet. Advertisement. Others opened the 8 inner gates fully and sacrificed their lives to get the finale kick. And it only has one leg. But what about Luo Hao? 8 inner gates are used as regular ninjutsu. Just like Sage Mode. You can kick the finale with your feet. Such power. Let alone Uchiha Madara, even 6 Paths Madara is not enough to look at him. Whitebeard is silent. Acetus was also silent. Aizen Sosuke was also silent. Hearing what Zhang Chulin said, they don't know how terrifying Luo Hao is in this state. It's not pretentious that he doesn't use Zanpakuto against the captain. It's just to do it better for myself. Aizen 30 Sosuke's eyes flashed, and his eyes fell on Luo Hao again. He wanted to see if the 8 inner gates that Zhang Chulin said kicked out the finale of Hokage, placed behind the Shinigami world, could also kick out the finale of Shinigami. Little ghost, what's the matter with your state? Why can you ignore my Ryujin Jaka? Yamamoto Genryu Sai, who doesn't have Sage Mode and doesn't know what 8 inner gates is, has no idea what he is facing. Have you ever heard of the 8 inner gates pattern? Luo Hao, wearing a blood-red robe like chakra, looked at Yamamoto Genryu Sai quietly. 8 inner gates mode. Is this the ability you use against the old man's Ryujin Jaka? When Yamamoto Genryu Sai's eyes fell on the blood-red chakra on Luo Hao's body, a pair of narrowed old eyes showed a trace of fear. The ability to confront Ryujin Jaka head-on, he has rarely encountered it. Advertisement. From ancient times to the present, among all the enemies who have fought against him, there is no Ryujin Jaka who dares to confront him head-on. And after hardening, there has never been a person who was unscathed. Good. Luo Hao stared at Yamamoto Genryu Sai. Are you ready? While Yamamoto Genryu Sai was a little puzzled by his words, he couldn't help but concentrate. What is ready? Yamamoto Genryu Sai asked in a deep voice. Ready for a kick in the grand finale. As soon as Luo Hao finished speaking, the blood-red chakra on his body exploded like a flame. This is not just chakra anymore. Still a blood-red steam. Almost at the moment when the blood-red steam rose into the sky, he had already disappeared. With a movement of his body, a huge sonic boom wave was rolled up, and the ground with a radius of several kilometers was completely overturned in an instant. So fast. The air waves generated by just moving are actually so powerful. Yamamoto Genryu Sai's pupils constricted, and without thinking he waved Ryujin Jaka, in order to burst out that prairie fire. It's just that his Ryujin Jaka has just been lifted up, and before he can swing it out, a huge impact has already enveloped his body, oppressing him so much that he can't complete the swinging movement behind him. Sunset. With an indifferent sound, an air cannon blasted Yamamoto Genryu Sai from the sky into the ground. Just one hit. The land of Seraiti not only has a bottomless pit. With one punch from Luo Hao, the entire Seraiti ground was shaken, lifted, and almost turned upside down. It's the same evening. The power of his punch is almost comparable to that of King Gai, from 1 speed to 5 speeds. Advertisement. Even someone as strong as Yamamoto Genryu Sai is hard to resist. The old man can't even react. How is this possible? Yamamoto Genryusai struggled to his feet in disbelief at the same time. It's just that before his body could follow the instructions of his brain, an air cannon that was twice as powerful as before had already dropped from the sky. Second punch down. With a bang, a huge crack stretched across the entire linking. The power of these two punches not only shook the entire Seraiti, but also shocked Kyoraku Shunsui and the captains. Luo Hao's two punches made them even stop the siege, and they all looked at Yamamoto Genryusai with worried faces. Don't die. I'm just starting to warm up. 673. Luo Hao stood condescendingly outside the pit where Yamamoto Genryusai lay, catching the sunrise. 3 speeds. Twice as strong as the second punch. Seraiti, which was originally split into 2 halves, immediately split into 4 pieces after this punch. The 2 continuous cracks in the entire Seraiti not only divided it into 4 parts, but even blasted the Seraiti nearly 100 meters higher than the original. Is this really a human fist? In the deep pit, Yamamoto Genryusai was blasted to a depth of 500 meters underground, and while vomiting blood, he held Zanpakuto tightly in his hand. Even he couldn't hold back such a punch. If there are a few more punches, it will not be vomiting blood, but a dead person. Do not. It should be Shinigami. After a few more punches from Luo Hao, he doubted that he would really become a dead god. From a living fossil in Soul Society to a real fossil. Yamamoto Genryusai, who has already felt how terrifying Luo Hao's Shishiong is, does not doubt this fact at all. Advertisement. Chapter 231 5 Punches Erase Seraiti. Advertisement. 4 speeds. Luo Hao glanced towards the deep pit, and when he saw that Yamamoto Genryusai was still alive and kicking, the corners of his mouth immediately curled up. Fourth Raikage, who claimed to have the strongest shield and the strongest spear back then, was only punched. Not only was his lightning-style chakra mode blown up on the spot, but he was also beaten to the ground, and it took him a long time to stand up again. But now, Yamamoto Genryusai carried from 1 speed to 3 speed. Stand up quickly with every punch. Although he was beaten down by his next punch every time before standing up, Yamamoto Genryusai's strength was also recognized by him. He is at the top of the ninja world in every aspect of swordsmanship, illusion, ninjutsu, and body art. It has been a long time since he has met someone who can catch his fist head on. Fight the third Raikage. While he's having a great time, it's really only 2 punches that end the fight in real life. After the Third World War, back to Konoha and Sarutobi Hiruzen and other high-level leaders turned against each other. He turns on the 8 inner gates mode again. After 1 punch, Sarutobi Hiruzen almost turned from a living monkey to a dead monkey. As for Sarutobi Hiruzen's summoning beast-ape demon, it was scrapped on the spot and turned into a simian ghost. Fight Namikaze Minato. Afraid of killing it with a single punch, he didn't even turn on the 8 inner gates mode, and just rubbed it on the ground with the flying thunder god. He hadn't felt this kind of fist-to-body fight that he hadn't seen for a long time. Let alone having fun. Torch. Advertisement. In the deep pit, Yamamoto Genryusai felt that the more powerful air cannon was about to suppress it again. After being punched a few times, he finally got enough time to swing the knife this time. With 1 slash by Ryujin Jaka, the flame tornado that filled the pit was enough to collide with the air cannon punched by Luo Hao from top to bottom. But what made Yamamoto Genryusai dumbfounded was that his all-powerful Song Ming, who had gone through enough to burn everything, was crushed all the way by Luo Hao's air cannon and blasted back at him. Even Song Ming can't bear it. Yamamoto Genryusai took a deep breath, then raised his right hand. Hado's 91 hyphenation point Senju Jiao Tian Duan Pao. As the chanting fell, several huge beams shot up into the sky, together with the flame tornado, they held the crushed air cannon. Very good. That's it, old man Yamamoto, keep dancing. Luo Hao saw that Yamamoto Genryusai was so tenacious, holding his 4-speed with both hands and knives, and laughed out loud on the spot. Underneath the laughing sound, the 5-speed followed. Click. Song Ming is also good. Even the Hado of 91. In front of Luo Hao's 5th punch, it was like tofu, and it shattered. This punch. Let Yamamoto Genryusai learn 4 words. Destruction. All his means are used. Advertisement. Kido, Kendo, White Hits, Shunpo, all of these are so pale and powerless under Luo Hao's 5-speed Shishiong. There is no room for any confrontation. Flames and Hado were all shattered in an instant. When Yamamoto Genryusai was swallowed by the air cannon that was so violent that it seemed to pierce the earth's crust, Nuoda's Seraiti began to shake extremely fast. It's as if a magnitude 12 earthquake came, shaking non-stop. The violent air waves swept away from the deep pit like waves one after another. Wherever the air waves passed by, whether it was the buildings of Seraiti or the birth of the trees that Whitebeard used wood style to create, they were all razed to the ground in an instant like being hit by a nuclear bomb. Those Shinigami captains who were going to besiege Whitebeard and others were affected by the waves of air, not to mention continuing to fight, and they couldn't even stand still. All of them were blown awake. They are like ordinary people in front of a tornado, they can only float with the wind and be swept away. When the air wave sweeping over Seraiti completely dissipated, Kyoraku Shunsui and others who got up again from the ruins and dust were all stunned. Under their gaze, the Seraiti they were familiar with in the past has disappeared. Notice Seraiti flipped over. With the turning of the earth, Jingalingting, which was smashed into 4 parts, was directly buried in the ground. Seraiti. Gone. As first-generation Kenpachi, Mao Zihua, who has experienced the ups and downs of Seraiti and faced the vicissitudes of life, was also slightly lost when he saw the scene in front of him. Although, of Zhao's, just now when Yamamoto Genryusai gave the order for the nobles and the Shinigami to retreat, they were mentally prepared that the Seraiti would be completely destroyed today. But they never expected that Seraiti was not destroyed by Yamamoto Genryusai's Zanpakuto, but by the man who bears the name of Hokage with just 5 punches. Moreover, these 5 punches were not intentionally hit on Seraiti, but were all output on Yamamoto Motoyanagi Shigekuni. If Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni hadn't used his body to absorb all the output of Luo Hao's Shishiong, Seraiti would not be able to hold 5 punches at all. It is estimated that around the 3rd punch, this Seraiti that has existed for an unknown number of years will become history. Advertisement. Chapter 232 The old man Yamamoto is gone. Advertisement. My god, it's not true, is it? Vice captain of the 2nd team. Omeda Marekio got up from the mud, looked at the mess in front of him. No, Seraiti, which can only be described as ruins, was stunned on the spot. Seraiti has existed for more than 1,000 years, and the existence that even Hueco Mundo can't break through has disappeared. Matsumoto Rangaku looked at the scene in front of him in astonishment, his delicate pretty face was full of shock. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she really wouldn't believe that Seraiti would be destroyed one day. And he was still beaten up by a man. The Seraiti, which towered over the Soul Society for thousands of years like a behemoth, was actually buried alive by flipping the earth. Your Excellency Captain. After Hitsugaya Toshiro was shocked, he immediately thought of Yamamoto Genryusai. If even Yamamoto Genryusai dies under these 5 punches, can they still stop that demon-like man? It's just the companion of the 870 man, so many captains of them have teamed up, but they haven't won it until now. If Yamamoto Genryusai didn't stand in front of the wind and rain, resisting that man with his own strength, would they still have the courage and necessity to continue to fight? How is this going? Just when the captains and vice-captains of the Shinigami were preoccupied, and their hearts and faces were filled with worry and heaviness, a portal through the world suddenly opened above their heads. Immediately afterwards, led by Hiroko Shinji, a group of Shinigami members of the Masked Legion stepped out of the gate and came to the Soul Society. Originally, they came to this long-lost land, and they were just about to cheer loudly. But when they saw Seraiti turned into ruins, they all opened their mouths, and it took a long time to squeeze out such a sentence. As you can see, Seraiti is ruined. Urahara Kazuki, DADF, flashed in front of Hiroko Shinji with several hideous stab wounds. His very first sentence made Hiroko Shinji freeze. The other masked legions were also shocked beyond measure one after another. When did this happen? Hiroko Shinji asked a little blankly. 30 seconds ago. Shihu and Yoruichi also surrounded him. Advertisement. 30 seconds. Then, how to destroy it? Who destroyed it? Could it be Aizen? Mugaruma Kensai couldn't help asking. If Aizen Sosuke has this power, can they really get revenge? You must know that the buildings of the Soul Society are all composed of spirit particles. Whether it is space or matter, it is far more solid than other worlds. Especially Seraiti. Even Captain Shinigami fighting recklessly can only destroy a small area of Jingalingting. It is really difficult to say that it caused large-scale damage. And destroying the entire Seraiti is even more impossible. Not Aizen. He is a man with a very mysterious identity and origin. We only know him as Hokage. Shihu and Yoruichi shook his head. Just now he fought the old man. 5 punches, the old man only received 1 punch. The other 4 punches couldn't catch, and then Seraiti was gone. A bitterness appeared on Urahara Kazuki's face. He has always been resourceful, even facing Aizen who got Hogyoku, he has never despaired. This is the first time he has tasted what despair is. At the same time, he also learned a word and a sentence. 1 force down 10. In the face of absolute power, all strategies are paper tigers. Witnessing Luo Hao's evening scene with his own eyes, he only felt that his wisdom had been completely rubbed against the ground by Luo Hao's fist. Even if the evening scene didn't hit him. Advertisement. Facing such mighty power, no matter how resourceful Urahara Kazuki was, he really couldn't think of any way to counter it. Seraiti. It's gone. So old man Yamamoto is gone too. Hiroko Shinji only felt that his heart was extremely heavy. Facing Aizen Sosuke, their courage and determination to fight to the death. But I saw the Soul Society in ruins before my eyes, and I heard everything that Urahara Kazuki and Shihu and Yoruichi said. They felt a sense of despair and powerlessness towards Luo Hao, whom they had never met before. Do not know. Thinking of this, he suddenly smiled self-deprecatingly. I hope the old man can hold on. In the past, he has been proud to be the captain of the Shinigami. If he's gone, then let's withdraw. If even Yamamoto Genryusai can't beat Luo Hao's 5 punches, is there any point in continuing to fight as captains? Urahara Kazuki said surprisingly. Urahara Kazuki met Hitsugaya Toshiro's questioning gaze. Didn't you hear what the old man said before? Seraiti will cease to exist. We are dead. But now, he just realized how ridiculous, how pale and powerless he is, the so-called genius, the proud Captain Shinigami. Are you giving up Seraiti? Hitsugaya Toshiro fell silent. We are still there. Seraiti has the possibility of rebuilding. What? In front of that man named Hokage, it was just a punch. Hitsugaya Toshiro shouted excitedly when he heard Urahara Kazuki's words. Advertisement. Chapter 233 While Hokage is not here, I quickly pretend to be more aggressive. Advertisement. You should listen to Urahara Kazuki. He is right. You are gone, at least Seraiti is not completely destroyed. But if you rebuild, you don't have to think too much. Because you won't have the chance. When all the captains were worried, Aizen Sosuke rose into the air. Seeing Aizen Sosuke majestically appearing in front of them, and even confronting them with his own strength, Hiriko Shinji and other masked legion suddenly showed hideous expressions. The dignified Captain Shinigami was actually forced to leave the world. And also became the subject of Aizen Sosuke's experiment, became human, ghost, and almost died in the end. And the person who caused all this turned out to be himself, the former vice captain. This makes Hiriko Shinji how not to be angry. Long time no see, Captain Hiriko. You look pretty good, at least it's much better than when we left. Facing the cannibalistic eyes of the masked legion, Aizen Sosuke smiled calmly. Thanks to you, we are still alive and well. Because we're going to kill you B******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** After so many years, it turns out that you still have such unrealistic ideas. For the sake of being a colleague in the past, listen to my advice. Give up. You will never be able to touch the corner of my clothes. After Aizen Sosuke casually said these words, he felt a burst of relief in his heart. Advertisement. Awesome. This feeling of pretending, especially without Mr. Hokage pretending to be aggressive here, stealing his lines, and stealing his limelight. No, while Mr. Hokage is not here, I have to pretend to be more aggressive. Otherwise, when Master Hokage comes back, I think it will be very difficult to pretend. Hey, those of us who participated in the conference seem to have been reduced to spectators. While Aizen Sosuke was confronting Urahara Kazuki and others, Whitebeard and other skirt friends were holding watermelons in their hands, eating melon seeds in their mouths, and watching Aizen Sosuke pretend with relish. It's okay. Don't you see how comfortable Captain Aizen is like that? Zhang Chulin said while digging the watermelon. It's rare that Luo Hao isn't here, it's no wonder he doesn't try his best to pretend. A seed saw through Aizen's sinister intentions at a glance. Obviously, Aizen Sosuke took advantage of the battle between Luo Hao and Yamamoto Genryu Sai, and he didn't have the mind to pay attention to this side, so he ran to pretend alone. Otherwise, how could Aizen Sosuke be so kind to help them block so many enemies? There are so many captains, the deputy captain is here. I just don't know if he can hold it. If the car overturns later, we may not be able to save him. Mewtwo shrugged. Among so many skirt friends, besides Acetus, he is the most polite. Cut up pieces of watermelon meat directly with the power of thought, and then put it in his mouth, and taste it slowly. Unlike Whitebeard as the pirate chief, sitting directly on the dusty ground, holding a watermelon in his right hand that was still stained with Zaraki Kenpachi's blood. Calm down. This is Captain Aizen's home field. Let me tell you. Although Captain Aizen is not as tough as Boss Luo, who overturned the entire Seraiti with 5 punches, he is still very cruel. Advertisement. If we hadn't come, he would have played with all the Shinigami of the Gote 13th Division to applause by himself. 0 for flowers. See it. Our second brother, Yijigu, is his disciple, and he has been charging forward, actually helping Captain Aizen to attract attention. Zhang Chulin is not worried at all that Aizen Sosuke will overturn. The previous Aizen Sosuke also had a father on the protagonist invincibility. But now, Aizen Sosuke, who became a member of the Myriad Realms chat skirt, is not something the protagonist of the Shinigami world, Yijigu, can restrain. Even if GGU stands on the side of the Soul Society and turns on Moonless, in Zhang Chulin's opinion, there is a high probability that Aizen Sosuke will rub him on the ground. Tusen Konami. I became Aizen's pawn. Go see for yourself. After entering the group chat, even his strength improved by leaps and bounds. How to become Aizen Sosuke's pawn? He couldn't believe that Aizen Sosuke, who is an old skirt friend, has been in the same place since entering the skirt, and his strength has not improved at all. Zhang Chulin sensed something before the time for the Sage Mode experience card, and Ming Taimai looked at Aizen Sosuke. After a while, it seems that there is no need to ask and talk. Whether it's Chatter, Whitebeard and other skirt friends, they all eat watermelon and look around. When everyone saw the appearance of the two of them clearly, they recognized them immediately. He immediately picked up Tensa Zangetsu, as if he was about to rush out to save people. While grumbling and bewildered, I also feel unbelievable. What? I don't even know each other. Rukia Kuchiki. Rukia. Under the gaze of many eyes, 2 people suddenly appeared on the left side of Aizen Sosuke. Advertisement. Chapter 234 Those who disturb Aizen pretend, die. Advertisement. Don't get excited. Captain Aizen has just started pretending. You rush out at this time and interrupt his dancing time, this is simply to kill his father and enemy. It's hard to say whether Rukia will die by then, but if you murmur, he's dead. Zhang Chulin on the side saw that Rukia Kuchiki was about to lose control, so she quickly reached out and pinned him to the ground. Zhang Chulin is very clear. Aizen Sosuke finally seized this once in a lifetime pretend opportunity. Anyone who dares to disturb him pretend at this time will end up dead. No matter what, I have been brothers with Yijigu for more than 10 minutes. Zhang Chulin also doesn't want to see Yijigu being killed for disturbing. 940, Aizen Sosuke pretend. If Yijigu really died for this reason, then he is definitely the most classic death method of the protagonist since the beginning of the world. What nonsense. Rukia is there. Am I not going to save him? I came to Soul Society to save him. As soon as he saw the existence of Rukia, Jigu's IQ dropped crazily. How could he hear the words of Zhang Chulin, billion? Quiet. Just when Yijigu broke free from Zhang Chulin's shackles and was about to rush towards Aizen Sosuke recklessly, a powerful hand suddenly fell from the sky and grabbed Yijigu's shoulder. Daddy, are you going to stop me too? His eyes widened. Shit. Whitebeard slapped Yijigu flying out, knocking him into a daze. You are Laozi's son. That woman is Laozi's daughter-in-law. How can Laozi watch his own daughter-in-law get killed? Advertisement. What Whitebeard said made Yijigu both moved and anxious. No, Dad, listen to me explain. Rukia is not my thing. As soon as he heard the words, he immediately wanted to explain. What a joke. Which anime protagonist's wife, or the person he likes, is not beautiful and sweet, and has an extremely strong career line. For Rukia, he is just a benefactor, a friend, a confidant. Really have no idea of further development. Okay. Solve the relationship between the two of you by yourself. Anyway, that girl, Dad will protect you for you. Just sit here quietly and watch Aizen pretend. Whitebeard didn't give Yijigu a chance to explain, and just made the final decision. Yes, father. Although Yijigu felt that this was not good, he thought that if Whitebeard did not misunderstand, he might not necessarily save Rukia. After all, Whitebeard and Aizen Sosuke are on the same side. In desperation, he could only temporarily accept this wonderful misunderstanding. Aizen, what do you want to do? Seeing Tusen Kanami bring Rukia Kuchiki in front of them, Shihuin Yoruichi subconsciously thought that Aizen Sosuke wanted to threaten them with Rukia Kuchiki. Thought Byakuya Kuchiki was dead. She gritted her teeth secretly in her heart, absolutely not letting Byakuya's sister die in front of her. Are you trying to threaten us with this little girl? You are still as despicable as ever. Hirako Shinji stared at Aizen Sosuke coldly, and said contemptuously. Is this what you said, that we can't touch the corner of your clothes for the rest of our lives? If you rely on such despicable means, then we really will never be able to touch the corner of your clothes for the rest of our lives. Advertisement. Because all of us combined are inferior to you alone. Mugaruma Kensai said with a look of disdain. If I can use Rukia's life to kill you all, then I don't mind being the scum in your mouth. 0. But unfortunately, Rukia is not as important in the hearts of you righteous people as you say. Quote. Facing the contempt, disdain, and ridicule of Mugaruma Kensai and others, Aizen Sosuke did not feel ashamed at all, but spoke with confidence. Since you know that using Rukia won't stop us from killing you, then stop doing such a shameful act. Hirako Shinji said coldly. They don't know what I want to do. Captain Urahara, I think you should know. Aizen Sosuke chuckled, and then asked Urahara Kazuki, who had been silent. What you put in Rukia Kuchiki's body is your own hands. Urahara Kazuki looked a little gloomy. Urahara. Hieraku Shunsui and others turned their attention to Urahara Kazuki. Urahara Kazuki. 5.5 inches. He survived that year thanks to Urahara Kazuki's Hogyoku. In other words, Aizen Sosuke's move to bring Rukia over at this time must have something to do with Urahara Kazuki. In order to plot against me, you are really generous. This caused Seraiti to be destroyed before his plan even started. He put Hogyoku in Rukia's body, that's right, he also wanted to plot against Aizen, right? Aizen Sosuke said so, and Urahara Kazuki's abnormality, both of them told them that there was something wrong with Rukia. Why not? Hirako Shinji's body shook slightly, and he immediately thought of Hogyoku. Aizen Sosuke looked at Urahara Kazuki playfully. But he didn't expect Aizen Sosuke to have Luo Hao and his group of accomplices. What's wrong? Urahara. Did you put that thing in Rukia's spirit body? Advertisement. Chapter 235 Give Laozi a face and release Laozi's daughter-in-law. Advertisement. In Urahara Kazuki's original calculation, Hogyoku would still end up in the hands of Aizen Sosuke. Only in this way can the true face of Aizen Sosuke be forced out, and at the same time, he can be forced from the dark side to the bright side step by step, and finally gather the power of the 13th division of the Gote to wipe him out. But now the Seraiti are all destroyed. The 13th squad of Guti is at the critical point of life and death. At this time, his calculation turned into sending warmth to Aizen Sosuke. Urahara, why did you put such a dangerous thing on that little girl's handle? Mugaruma Kensai also reacted. I can't help it either. Who would have thought of the existence of that man? Urahara Kazuki glanced at the deep pit in the distance that was dug out by Luo Hao's 5 punches forcefully. He really didn't count the existence of Luo Hao in all his calculations. Not to mention the incomparably powerful Gote 13th Division, the incomparably powerful Seraiti was only 5 punches in front of that man. What are you talking about? Hieraku Shunsui was confused. Aizen framed Captain Hirako and they wanted to break the boundary between Shinigami and Hollow. And to do this, you need a substance. This substance Kazuki he created, called Hogyoku. It was also thanks to Hogyoku that we were able to save Hirako and the others from Aizen. As far as I know, Aizen also has Hogyoku. Shihuin Yoruichi's words made Hieraku Shunsui and others change their expressions after hearing the words. They have already felt the strength of Aizen Sosuke just now. Advertisement. Although it pales in comparison to Luo Hao who defeated Seraiti with 5 punches and beat Yamamoto Genryusai to death, crushing their captains and vice-captains is really not a big problem. How terrifying is Aizen if you get Hogyoku who can break the boundary between Shinigami and Hollow? If I'm not mistaken, the Hogyoku in Aizen's hand is not perfect. That's why he wants to get the one in my hand, and fuse the 2 Hogyoku. Urahara Kazuki guessed. Captain Urahara, you are indeed the only person in the Soul Society who surpasses me intellectually. You guessed my thoughts clearly. I do have Hogyoku, but it's not perfect. However, yours should be as well. Only the fusion of two Hogyoku can produce a near-perfect Hogyoku. As Aizen Sosuke said, he picked up Zanpakuto as if he was about to stab Rukia Kuchiki. Stop him. How can Hitsugaya Toshiro and others let the Hogyoku in the blue Kuchiki sub-body come out? But before they could act, there was a burst of laughter not far away. Gu la la la. Aizen, you have to take Hogyoku, Laozi is fine. But this little girl is Laozi's daughter-in-law. To Laozi's face, let that chick named Rukia go. Quote. Whitebeard was carrying a conqueror's haki, and a conqueror's haki burst out from his body. At this time, as if he had crossed the barrier of time and space, he summoned the face fruit of the red-haired Shanks, as if holding it on his body. Every time he took a step, the conqueror's haki, like an invisible storm, swept towards the surroundings. Advertisement. The ground begins to crack. The space began to ripple with bursts of hurricanes. The sky is bursting with black lightning visible to the naked eye. This Haki's awe-inspiring kingly attitude, coupled with his extremely intimidating words, "Give me a face." Many Shinigami captains and vice-captains present were stunned when they saw Whitebeard, who looked like a king. Damn it. Dad ran to pretend. When Zhang Chulin saw it, the corners of his mouth twitched. He is a skirt friend who has seen countless strong men pretend. How can it be seen that Whitebeard's reputation is to protect his daughter-in-law, but in fact he just took the opportunity to pretend to be with Aizen Sosuke? No wonder Whitebeard agreed to save Rukia without even thinking about it. My emotional father has long thought of using Rukia as an entry point, and abruptly shared the stage with Aizen Sosuke pretend. 223. Give me face. Above the sky, Aizen Sosuke, who was holding Kyoka Suigetsu and was about to stab Rukia with a knife, heard a few black lines emerge from the corners of his eyes. The scene of being ashamed because of the fruit of face echoed in his mind again. A word from Whitebeard reminded him of the unbearable past, although it gave Aizen Sosuke the urge to draw a knife and kill someone. However, seeing Whitebeard's exquisite cutting, he couldn't help but give a secret praise in his heart. That's a good trick. Whether it's timing, lines, or atmosphere, everything is good. The most important thing is that this P*Psi is not mine, and I didn't pretend to be my P*Psi. No matter how you say it, Aizen Sosuke is also Shinigami's king, and he is not a narrow-minded person who can't tolerate others pretending in front of him. It's just that it's hard for him to accept that others are forcing him to pretend in front of his face. A pretender like Whitebeard has his own style, but he doesn't steal his style, and he doesn't pretend to be his, so Aizen has nothing to pretend. He not only accepts it, but also praises him full of praise. Advertisement. Chapter 236. Two great drama stars, on the same stage pretend. Advertisement. Whitebeard, your words are making me a little difficult. How should I put it? This girl is also my trophy, and my subordinates took great risks to help me win it. If you ask me to hand it over in one sentence, how can I explain it to my subordinates? Aizen Sosuke's eyes flashed, and he confronted Whitebeard. So, are you not giving Laozi this face? Whitebeard narrowed his eyes, and the conqueror's haki on his body swept away mightily. The ground, which had already been cracked, began to vibrate even more. The roaring and sweeping hurricane soared into the sky, directly changing the sky. Don't be impulsive, it looks like they're going to fight. Let's watch the show first. Quick-eyed Urahara Kazuki and Kyoraku Shunsui saw this scene, and quickly pinned down Hitsugaya Toshiro and other captains beside them. In their view, it would be best if Whitebeard and Aizen Sosuke could clash. In this way, they can reap the benefits of fishing in minutes. Even if Aizen Sosuke and Whitebeard can't both lose in the end, it's good to get rid of one. For the sake of everyone being in the same skirt, I'm happy to give you this face. However, I must give my subordinates an explanation. Under the gaze of Kyoraku Shunsui and others with faint expectations, Aizen Sosuke said without giving an inch. Confession. Good. Laozi will give you an explanation. Whitebeard raised his hand and thrust Kong Yunchi into the ground. This move instantly pierced the earth with a 1,000-meter-long crack. Such a powerful force made Kyoraku Shunsui, Urahara Kazuki and others fearful. This level of strength, even if it is not as good as Aizen Sosuke, is definitely the top existence among the captains. Advertisement. No wonder even Zaraki Kenpachi after Bankai was defeated miserably in his hands. Want to do it? Degree. There was a cold light in Aizen Sosuke's narrowed eyes. It looked like he was eager to try. Apparently he'd love to take on Whitebeard, too. The explanation you want, Laozi will give it to you. That chick named Rukia, Laozi is in Baoding today. Whether it's you, Aizen, or your subordinates, if anyone dares to touch this chick, Laozi will be his opponent. Whitebeard said every word. It is good. I'd love to see your brilliant trick, Whitebeard, too. I have known you for so long, and I have not communicated with you. Just take advantage of this time to distinguish between high and low. Aizen Sosuke slowly turned Zanpakuto, which was pointing at Rukia Kuchiki, towards Whitebeard. Reiatsu between the two, conquerors' haki slowly swept towards each other. With the sound of a heavy impact, the flames of war seemed to be on the verge of breaking out. Wait, Captain Aizen. But just when Kyoraku Shunsui and others were waiting to see through, Tsusen Kanami suddenly stepped aside and stopped Whitebeard and Aizen Sosuke. Yes, what are you doing? Aizen Sosuke frowned slightly. Fangfo was a little dissatisfied with being interrupted. Captain Aizen, Rijiri puts the overall situation first. Our goals are the most important. In comparison, the risk taken by the subordinates is not worth mentioning at all. Advertisement. If you go to war with your friends for the sake of your subordinates, it will not only spoil our affairs, but also make it easier for the 13th Division of the Guti. Tsunade said in a deep voice. Hey, whatever. It is my blessing, Aizen, to have subordinates like you. Aizen Sosuke originally wanted to refuse, but seeing the unquestionable words written in the eyes of the blind Tsunade, he could only sigh, then turned his head and said to Whitebeard. Okay, for the sake of what you want, I will give you this face today. But you have to remember, I'm only doing this for the sake of what I want. It's not me, Aizen Sosuke, who is afraid of you. After accepting Rukia Kuchiki, he also thanked Aizen Sosuke very face-saving. These two actors. It is simply a very tacit agreement to make an appointment to pretend to be on the same stage together. Whitebeard didn't sell himself when he got cheap. Give you. When did Aizen become so considerate? Saying that, in the eyes of Kyoraku Shunsui and others, a world-shattering battle came to an abrupt end before it even started. Urahara Kazuki and the others are confused and can't believe it. Especially Hirako Shinji, Mugaruma Kensai and others who were once cheated by Aizen Sosuke, they were dumbfounded. All of them couldn't help but wipe their eyes, as if they suspected that there was something wrong with their eyes. But Zhang Chulin cursed secretly. He didn't say a word to Aizen Sosuke. All of a sudden, the two of them gained face and confidence, gained the limelight, and pretended to be perfect. What is the difference between high and low? This dramatic change, the anticlimactic battle, ended without even a tiger fight, and Kyoraku Shunsui, Urahara Kazuki and others were stunned. Aizen Sosuke put away Kyoka Suigetsu, then pulled out a glove, thrust it into Rukia Kuchiki's stomach, and threw the intact Rukia Kuchiki to Whitebeard. Thank you. Advertisement. Chapter 237 Don't Give Face. Advertisement. Who is Zhang Chulin? Same with Luo Hao. A man who gathers the great achievements of pretenders from all walks of life. The difference with Luo Hao is that Luo Hao has the ability to apply various pretend skills to practice, but he does not. But he doesn't have the strength to pretend, but he still has the eyesight to tell whether others are pretending or not. In his opinion, Aizen Sosuke and Whitebeard, who just now looked like they were going to fight for their lives, were simply playing. Everything the two of them did was just to pretend to be on the same stage and set off each other. Poor Urahara Kazuki, Kyoraku Shunsui, the wise one, was confused for a while. He actually still had that poor fluke in his heart, hoping that the two pretenders, Whitebeard and Aizen Sosuke, would fight to the death. Not to mention that Whitebeard and Aizen Sosuke already know the basics, they are in the same skirt, and they will not easily conflict at all. This pretend conference alone has clearly stipulated that skirt friends are not allowed to destroy other people's pretend in the form of violence. For this alone, neither Whitebeard nor Aizen Sosuke will use force easily. After all, mandatory silence and mandatory kicking, the privileges of these two administrators can be like two sanctions blades, hanging on the head of every skirt friend in 740. It's a pity that Urahara Kazuki and the other Shinigami captains don't know about it. This also led to them being played in a mess by Aizen Sosuke and Whitebeard. Come on, Chatter, your daughter-in-law. Didn't Dad bring it back for you? After Whitebeard took Rukia, he raised his hand and threw her in front of Yijigu. Thank you, Dad. At this time, Yijigu also recovered from his sluggishness. He was also sweating just now. Thought Papa was really going to fight Aizen Sosuke. Advertisement. Fortunately, both of them were very restrained in the end, and they didn't really do it. Apparently, Yijigu was also played by my father. Why don't you save face? How about a showdown? That's it. That's it. Seeing a peerless battle that was about to break out, it stopped abruptly before it even started. Urahara Kazuki and the others were dumbfounded at the same time. They just feel that their IQ is as if they are being rubbed on the ground by someone. You guys are disappointed. A cannibalism drama is over before it even begins. Aizen Sosuke glanced at the Shinigami captains whose faces were full of distress, and the corner of his mouth couldn't help raising a sneer. Aizen, you don't have to be so complacent. Although Hogyoku was taken by you, it looks like you can't use it now. Kyoraku Shunsui's eyes are quite venomous. Just glanced at the Hogyoku in Aizen Sosuke's hand, and found that the outside of Hogyoku was surrounded by a translucent cube, he reacted. Apparently this was left behind by Urahara Kazuki. Although this seal Kido cannot prevent you from getting Hogyoku, you cannot break the seal within 2 or 3 months. Now you can't use Hogyoku's power. Urahara Kazuki's words made Hitsugaya Toshiro and other captains and vice captains secretly relieved. If Aizen Sosuke can really use Hogyoku, then there is a big problem. Just relying on Shikai's Kyoka Suigetsu, Aizen Sosuke beat them to the ground DACF. Advertisement. If you get the power of Hogyoku again, let alone Bankai, even Shikai may be able to pin them all to the ground without using it. Captain Urahara, do you know why I always just refer to you as the only Shinigami in the Soul Society who surpasses me intellectually? When Aizen Sosuke heard this, the mocking look on his face became more intense. That's because you, Urahara Kazuki, can really only surpass me intellectually by a little bit, and that's all. As for the rest, strength, means, and comprehensive abilities in all aspects, you are not worthy of my shoes. Quote. Before Urahara Kazuki could speak, he had already started asking and answering himself. You're so arrogant, Aizen. Urahara Kazuki said so, but there was a trace of uneasiness in his heart. Aizen Sosuke has changed a lot. Although the surface is still the same as before, he always feels that the recent Aizen Sosuke has changed a lot. Although the essence is still the same Aizen Sosuke, but compared with the previous performance in all aspects, it is like two people. If the previous Aizen Sosuke was still in existence that he couldn't parry in terms of strength, at least he could rely on various means and intelligence to deal with him, and he could still calculate the opponent. But now, he finds himself facing Aizen Sosuke as if facing a bottomless pit. No matter what means he has, he will only be swallowed by the bottomless pit of Aizen Sosuke in the end. Arrogant. Do you still think so now? Aizen Sosuke chuckled, then slowly raised the Hogyoku in his right hand, and began to make mudras with his left hand. Dust escape primary realm stripping technique. As he completed the seal, a translucent cuboid with white in the middle burst out from above his left hand. As soon as this translucent cuboid appeared, it enveloped Hogyoku. After the dazzling white light dissipated, everyone suddenly found that the Kido seal that originally sealed Hogyoku had been wiped away. Advertisement. Chapter 238. Look everyone, Captain Aizen is about to dance again. Advertisement. Captain Aizen. What a terrifying man. Seeing this scene, Zhang Chulin's pupils constricted suddenly. Others don't know what kind of technique Aizen Sosuke uses, how can he not know? This is clearly the dust escape used by Tsuchikage, Onoki. Integrating three kinds of chakra nature transformation, in terms of power, almost surpasses the limit of all blood successors, the elimination of blood successors. He didn't expect Aizen Sosuke to actually practice the chakra system to this point. Whether it's Boss Luo or Captain Aizen, both are from monsters. A few days after getting the Shinigami system, one can cast Hado, which is stronger than Captain Aizen, and can also copy all Shinigami's Shikai and Bankai. A few days after getting the Hokage system, he actually figured out the blood succession elimination, dust escape. Zhang Chulin sighed secretly. The young master also thinks he is talented and intelligent, and he is the type of protagonist at first glance. But compared with these two fronts, he found that he was really just a plaything. Urahara, is this the Kido you said kept Aizen from using Hogyoku for months? Hana Retsu, who has been keeping quiet and quietly watching everyone pretend, couldn't help but cast a blank stare at Urahara Kazuki. Is there anyone so pretend like you? This is just a slap in the face. This turnaround speed is too fast. This, Sister Wa, don't blame me. Don't you see that Aizen is not using Shinigami's power? Urahara Kazuki is also a bit awkward. He didn't expect that the seal Kido he had spent so long designing was broken by Aizen Sosuke in an instant. In his opinion, Aizen Sosuke should be impossible. This is not just a question of strength, but also a question of power system. Advertisement. The seal Kido he designed, unless there is targeted restraint, otherwise, even he himself will need to spend a lot of time to crack it. Even if Aizen is stronger than him, it will still take several months. Sister Wa, don't blame Urahara. The main reason is that Aizen has changed too much. The power he uses is very similar to that of the man named Hokage. This is a spiritual power that is different from Shinigami. Very strange to us. If I'm not wrong, Aizen will have such a big change, it must have got this power zone from Hokage. Of course, I also suspect that the Shinigami power on that Hokage comes from Aizen. Hieraku Shunsui also knew it wasn't Urahara Kazuki's problem. A very timely save for Urahara Kazuki. Things are really getting more and more troublesome. If something happens to old man Sean, I really don't know how it will end. Pressing the hat on his head, Hieraku Shunsui first glanced at the battlefield where Luo Hao and Yamamoto Genryusai were, and then said worriedly. King Band Leader. In fact, you don't have to worry about it at all. Because whether Captain Yamamoto is dead or alive in the end, your fate will not change in the slightest. From the moment I decided not to hide anymore, there is only one ending for you. 3T. The moment the cold death word was spit out from Aizen Sosuke's mouth, the surrounding temperature dropped to a freezing point in an instant. Serai T, which was originally sunny, started to snow. At this time, Aizen Sosuke is like a real Shinigami, the Shinigami who is in charge of the Soul Society, possessing the power to follow what he says. His mood, his words can interfere with the atmosphere of Huhun realm. Advertisement. 0 for flowers. It's still unknown who will win the deer. Urahara Kazuki took a deep breath, then pulled out the Zanpakuto. This action of his was like a fuse, every deputy captain and every captain made the same move. All unanimously drew their Zanpakuto, fighting to the death. The show is about to begin. Seeing this scene in the distance, Zhang Chulin immediately knew that the climax of the 10,000 Worlds Pretend Conference was coming. It's a pity that he doesn't have the capital to participate. Once involved in the battle between Aizen Sosuke and Gote 13th Division, the battle between the vice captains, it is easy to die on the spot. Pretend is good, but it is not what he wants to lose the rest of his life for a momentary pretend. His strength is not as good as others, and he doesn't want to lose his life. It is estimated that he will take the bottom of this conference as usual. Look, everyone, Captain Aizen is going to dance again. After pretending on the same stage with Aizen Sosuke, Whitebeard is also content. Although I am a bit unwilling to get the second place in this conference, it is not a problem to mix up the third place. After all, this is Aizen's home field after all. It is still necessary to give the other party a face. Just take the third place casually, and he will be satisfied. The gap is too big. Even if I hold a bunch of super divine beasts and divine beasts, I guess my performance is about the same as that of a seeds, and at most it is better than her. Not to mention the second place, even Whitebeard, the third place, may not be able to grab it. Mewtwo glanced at Aizen Sosuke in the sky. Without Hogyoku, I couldn't beat him myself. Now with Hogyoku, I don't even think about it. Advertisement. Chapter 239 Hirenmaru. It's mine right now. Advertisement. Is my performance better than Billion this time? Thinking of this, Acedes couldn't help but feel strongly dissatisfied with his performance in the conference. In the world under one person, she is the absolute dragon and phoenix among people. Whether it was a minister or the emperor, she didn't take it to heart. But this time her performance was only better than that of Zhang Chulin, who was at the bottom of eternity, and even Whitebeard, who overturned without getting the first blood at the beginning, performed better than her. How can this be accepted by the proud queen shaking S? No, the pretend ranking is not as small as others, but the strength. I absolutely do not allow myself to be weak. Even in the 10,000 realms chat dress, I, 007, Acedes, will become a strong one. Acedes' eyes turned cold, and he slowly opened his right hand. With a burst of cold air curling up, a blue and white ice sword appeared in her hand. To improve the ranking. To improve strength. The best way is bloody battle. This is how she grew up too. Aizen. Just when Aizen Sosuke disintegrated the Keto seal outside Hogyoku with dust escape, and then the battle with the vice captains and captains of the Gote 13th Division was about to break out, a cold drink came to his ears in vain. General Acedes, I don't know what to teach you. Aizen Sosuke frowned slightly. This woman's mind is unpredictable. Shaking S Queen is even more unpredictable. Honestly. He also knows everyone in the skirt chat except Luo Hao, including Whitebeard. Yes, Acedes. Advertisement. Sometimes he really can't figure out Acedes' thoughts. Your purpose, your idea, your plan, I have no interest in intervening. But he's mine. Acedes pointed at Hitsugaya Toshiro with a white ice sword in his hand. Oh, are you going to fight Captain Hitsugaya? This is really a bit difficult to do. I promised to trade Captain Hitsugaya's Zanpakuto to Hokage-sama earlier. You have booked him all at once now, but it will make me very distressed. Aizen Sosuke rubbed the center of his brows, with a troubled look on his face, but his tone was very casual. Putting Buddha Hitsugaya Toshiro is a dish for him. It doesn't matter whether it's steamed, boiled, or handed over to other people for disposal. Let me talk to Luo Hao over there. There is only one thing you need to think about. To let or not to let. Acedes said word by word. Since General Acedes has done this, if I still refuse to forgive, it would be a bit unreasonable. After all, you were doing me a favor by taking out Captain Hitsugaya. Aizen Sosuke sank slightly, then let go. It just so happened that he also wanted to take this opportunity to test out how far the relationship between Luo Hao and Acedes has reached. Is it just the relationship between ordinary skirt friends and administrators, or is there an intriguing relationship? If it's the former, it's fine. But if it is the latter, then he will have to weigh it carefully in many matters involving Acedes in the future. Aizen, and you, don't be too arrogant. Advertisement. I am not a commodity that you can decide to belong to at will. Acedes saw Aizen Sosuke finally let go, and before he could speak, Hitsugaya Toshiro, who was being pushed back and forth by the two of them like a cargo, broke out first. Captain Hitsugaya, calm down. Hiroku Shunsui saw Hitsugaya Toshiro's mentality exploded, and immediately thought about him. 0. But what? The dialogue between Aizen Sosuke and Acedes has completely trampled the dignity of Hitsugaya Toshiro, the young Shinigami genius, on the soles of his shoes. Aren't you going to decide where I belong at will? Come. In this way, Hokage-sama may have mastered the technique of taking other people's Zanpakuto as his own. Hirenmaru. It will be mine immediately. Hirenmaru, comparable to Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu, Yamamoto Genryusai's Ryujin Jaka, is a gem in your hands. Generally, Zanpakuto is unique and cannot be obtained by others. Chakra has practiced ice escape abruptly, even if the original owner of Zanpakuto is dead. When Aizen Sosuke heard Acedes' words, he immediately thought of it. Judging from the current situation, the prerequisite for using this technique is to obtain the opponent's Zanpakuto and kill the original owner of Zanpakuto. Obviously, she has a soft spot for ice and snow abilities. When Acedes saw the Hirenmaru Shikai in Hitsugaya Toshiro's hand, his eyes lit up with joy. The strongest Zanpakuto of the ice element. With the liberation language chanting from his mouth, the Zanpakuto in his hand has completed Shikai, turning into a huge ice dragon soaring into the sky. Immediately afterwards, the ice dragon swept through the bone-chilling cold air, and opened its mouth to bite Acedes. Sit on the frosty sky. Hirenmaru. Be it Hokage or Acedes, they are all collecting Zanpakuto. Hitsugaya Toshiro raised Zanpakuto angrily. This Zanpakuto after she learned of the existence of Hirenmaru in 4.5, she has been eyeing this Zanpakuto. Taigu she chose the ice Taigu. Advertisement. Chapter 240 Ice and Snow Controversy. Queen vs Toshiro. Advertisement. Hitsugaya Toshiro. Right, let my sister teach you what is real ice. Facing the roaring ice dragon, Acedes sneered, and then slashed forward with his long ice sword. A gigantic ice slash that was hundreds of meters high fell on the ice dragon in an instant. Click. Obviously the ice dragon was already made of ice, but the moment it was touched by the ice slash, the huge dragon shot was frozen again. Immediately afterwards, with the sound of glass shattering, the ice dragon that had already been turned into an ice sculpture instantly shattered into ice chips. How is this possible? Seeing this scene, Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes were full of shock. His Hirenmaru is the strongest Zanpakuto of the ice element. An existence on par with Ryujin Jaka. The ice dragon cast by him should have reached ultimate in terms of ice and snow ability. There is absolutely no other snow and ice ability that can override Hirenmaru. This is what he believes in. But the sword that Acetus swung casually in front of him taught him an extremely vivid lesson. Even ice dragons can freeze. What a terrifying ability of ice and snow. What do you think ice and snow are? Simply cold. Is the temperature low enough? Real snow and ice is freezing. Everything in the world can be frozen. Be it ice, flames, magma, or the sea, everything, whether tangible or intangible, can be frozen. Your Hirenmaru is no exception. Acetus leapt. With a bang, an ice phoenix that spread its wings almost covering the sun of the Soul Society appeared out of nowhere at her feet, supporting her and flashed to Hitsugaya Toshiro's body like lightning. Advertisement. Ice escape Setsuna Fangwa. A blue light suddenly bloomed, instantly occupying Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes. Not good. Hitsugaya Toshiro's pupils shrank. By the time he wanted to raise his knife to block, it was already too late. The lightning-fast blue light engulfed his body in the blink of an eye. Team leader. Matsumoto Rangaku's face changed drastically, and he quickly liberated Zanpakuto and launched a fierce attack on Acedes. Whisper. Hineka. Just as the low and chilling chant fell, her Zanpakuto blade turned into smoke and swept towards Acedes' body. Normal trick. Although you and I are women, and you are Shinigami, I have to say that you are really too weak. Quote. Facing the smog that was so close at hand, Acedes didn't pay attention at all. But even when she was about to raise her hand to kill Matsumoto Rangaku in seconds, her eyes suddenly stopped on him for a moment. The highest altitude in the world. At the same time, Zhang Chulin's introduction to Nasho suddenly appeared in her mind. Although she may not be comparable to the first altitude in the 10,000 worlds, this Shinigami first altitude cannot go. It might be more useful to keep you alive than to kill you. Acedes murmured in his heart, and the icy long sword that had slashed down immediately withdrew 9 points of its strength. But even so, her strike is no small feat. With just a swipe of the sword, not only was the smoke covering her body frozen into an ice sculpture visible to the naked eye, even Matsumoto Rangaku turned into an ice beauty. Help me watch her. If she loses even a little bit of ice, I'll tear you apart. Acedes reached out and grabbed Matsumoto Rangaku, who had turned into an ice sculpture, and threw it in front of Zhang Chulin. Advertisement. Yes, yes, yes. Can Zhang Chulin say no to Acedes, who puts the long ice sword on his neck at the slightest disagreement? At this time, he dared not say anything except what he should say. Bankai Katakana middle dot Daiguren Hirenmaru. Just when Hitsugaya Toshiro, Matsumoto Rangaku, the captain and vice captain were frozen at the same time, a cold drink suddenly came from the sky. When Acedes turned to look, he immediately saw that the ice that had covered Hitsugaya Torang's body had shattered. Not only that, Hitsugaya Toshiro, who came out of the ice, has undergone a huge change from the previous form. Hitsugaya Toshiro's eyes turned cold, and the right hand holding the knife moved forward 1 page. It seemed as if he was checking the ability he was about to acquire. Release Matsumoto. Suddenly, icicles shot up into the sky in the air around Acedes. There are a pair of huge ice wings on the back, a dragon tail at the end of the spine, and a helpless ice dragon extending from the front of the blade. 1,000-year ice prison, and Acedes was like a prisoner locked in a cell, instantly frozen by icicles. The most important thing is that the Reiatsu emitted by 230 at this time is nearly 10 times stronger than before. Hitsugaya Toshiro sneered. After the icicles appeared, they gathered together in an instant, forming a huge icicle that pierced into the sky. Bankai. Looks like Bankai made you go a little crazy after that. Finally something to watch. Acedes, who hates being ordered and dominated the most, heard this, and his pretty face was as cold as ice and snow. No sign of it. Order me. Since you don't hand it over, I'll use this to make you hand it over. Acedes looked at Hitsugaya Toshiro carefully. Advertisement. Chapter 241 Kneel down and lick my shoes. Advertisement. The queen is frozen. Zhang Chulin stared at the scene in front of her with a face full of disbelief. After all, it is Zanpakuto, the strongest ice type. There's still something about this Hirenmaru. Whitebeard looked like he had nothing to do with himself. Is it really okay if we don't help? It is said that the relationship between the queen and Lord Hokage is not as pure as the rumors say. Cheomung's words made Whitebeard and Zhang Chulin froze. Yup, the relationship between this girl and Luo Hao is not as pure and flawless as the relationship between their group friends and skirt friends. Who knows if the two of them hooked up together? Especially after Acetus was robbed of 3 Sage Mode experience cards by Aizen Sosuke just now, he was still intimately holding Luo Hao's shoulder. To say that Luo Hao didn't take advantage of the administrator's forced traversal authority, and sneaked into the world of Crimson Eyes to fool around with Acedes, they really don't believe it. Do you want to do it? Let's move. Just focus on the ambiguous relationship between her and Boss Luo, we can't just sit idly by. The father and son Whitebeard and Zhang Chulin immediately looked at each other and reached a consensus in an instant. Acedes must be saved. At least you can't do anything in front of them. Otherwise, after Luo Hao killed Yamamoto Genryusai and returned, he would definitely deal with them. Being watched by the administrator, they really have no way to go to heaven and nowhere to go to earth. It doesn't matter whether you hide in your own world or hide in the world of other skirt friends. If Luo Hao is determined to find them out, he can still find them after searching the world one by one. The difference is only a matter of time. Click. Advertisement. Just when Zhang Chulin and Whitebeard reached a consensus and were about to start, the 1,000-year-old ice prison towering over the ruins of Seraiti suddenly showed thick cracks. As soon as the cracks appeared, they meandered and circled to the entire icicle like a python. In an instant, Nuoda's 1,000-year-old ice prison has been occupied by shocking cracks. Finally, with a crackling sound, the Millennium Ice Prison shattered. Acetus, who was locked inside, walked out unscathed. What's wrong with this woman? This is already the second strongest move in Bankai's ability that I have mastered. After freezing her up, she can still come out. Hitsugaya Toshiro stared at Acedes gravely. Originally, he thought that after freezing Acedes, the battle would be over. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to save Matsumoto Rangaku, Acetus broke through the ice. This made him wonder if his Hyarinmaru had been swapped. Or is it that his Hyarinmaru is not the strongest Zanpakuto of ice and snow at all, but just an ordinary Zanpakuto of ice and snow? Nice ability. Zanpakuto, the strongest in ice and snow, lives up to its name. It's a pity that you still can't unleash its true power. Acede stared at the Hyarinmaru in Hitsugaya Toshiro's hand, and then stretched out his 10 fingers to Hitsugaya Toshiro. Give me Hyarinmaru, then kneel down. Lick my shoes. I can keep you alive. Dream. Hitsugaya Toshiro's face turned cold. Not to mention that Shinigami's Zanpakuto cannot be converted. Even if he could, he would not hand it over. This is his proud Zanpakuto. Unfortunately. Advertisement. If you hand it over, I can guarantee that you will not lose your life in this battle. It's a pity that you rejected my kindness, and also rejected your last hope of survival. Acetus shook his head. She seemed to have lost the last of her patience, as if she didn't want to continue this battle that couldn't bring her any growth. You still don't know who will win. Don't you really want this Hyarinmaru? Then I will let you die under its strongest power. Even if you also have the ability of ice and snow, there is only a dead end. As his cold voice fell, the pair of huge ice wings on his back melted immediately. The snowflakes falling all over the sky covered almost every corner of the land with a radius of thousands of miles. Acetus naturally and inevitably touched the snowflakes. Hitsugaya Toshiro raised Hyarinmaru aloft as he spoke. Looking at the snowflakes in the sky, Acetus narrowed his eyes slightly. For the first time since fighting Hitsugaya Toshiro, she showed some seriousness. Die. This thing is a bit dangerous. In a blink of an eye, her body touched by the snowflakes began to grow one after another ice flakes. It's covered with more than 100 ice flowers. Hitsugaya Toshiro stood quietly in front of the icicle, his eyes were like looking at a dead person. But before he could finish his words, an ice pick suddenly extended from the icicle and pierced through his abdomen. No matter how fast Zhao Hao is, as long as you are in the range of snowflakes falling, your body will inevitably touch the snowflakes. Burial of flowers in the sky. Hitsugaya Toshiro let out a low snort. Meanwhile, the skies at Seraiti started to snow. When the ice flowers on Acede's body grew to more than 100, she was already frozen and imprisoned by a huge icicle formed by the condensation of ice flowers. Advertisement. Chapter 242 Aizen, I want you to reveal your true colors. Advertisement. Ice Escape Ice Dragon Bullet Technique. Before Hitsugaya Toshiro could react, there was another voice from behind him that was so indifferent that he couldn't hear the slightest emotion. Immediately afterwards, a huge ice dragon bit him and turned him into a bloody ice sculpture. Captain Hitsugaya. Faced with this sudden and earth-shaking battle situation, Hiroku Shunsui and the others, the Shinigami captain and vice captain, had no time to rescue them. When they reacted, what they saw was the bloody ice sculpture of Hitsugaya Toshiro. Save people. Hiroko Shinji glanced at Muguruma Kensai beside him. Let's fly to ashes and smoke, the earth-shattering wind. Muguruma Kensai immediately shikai Zanpakuto, holding a fisting knife in his hand and blasting at Acedes. While fighting with me, you dare to be distracted to deal with other people. Are you too confident in your own strength, or are you underestimating mine? Just when Acedes was about to make a move, Blue 233 Ran Sosuke had already stood beside Muguruma Kensai at some point. Just a simple swipe of the knife. Accompanied by the bloody arrows that shot into the air, a bloody severed arm holding Duan Difeng had detached from Muguruma Kensai's shoulder and slowly fell from the air. What? Muguruma Kensai's face turned pale, and he staggered back a few steps. Fall down, Nishi. Hiroko Shinji's eyes were tearing up. Without any hesitation, Zanpakuto Shikai, the ability of caressing was fully displayed, and in an instant, Aizen Sosuke felt that the scene in front of him was completely upside down. The inherent cognition of up and down, left and right, front and back, etc. are completely reversed. Advertisement. Aizen, I want you to reveal your true colors. Not even Kyoka Suigetsu can save you this time. After disturbing Aizen Sosuke with the petting, Hiroko Shinji immediately shouted. Dabe, he slashed Muguruma Kensai, the one standing next to Kensai must be his real body. Even if it wasn't him. Aizen is near Kensai. Sero. All members of the Masked Legion reached out to wipe their faces at the same time. A hollow mask is instantly put on. The Reiatsu of each member increases at a geometric rate. Even if the vice captain level Shinigami is behind hollow, Reiatsu is comparable to the captain level Shinigami. Immediately afterwards, all their members hold Zanpakuto and point to Aizen. Seros of different colors flew to Aizen Sosuke at the same time. Bang. With a bang, the huge Reiatsu explosion has completely swallowed Aizen Sosuke. Not only that, the space with a radius of 1 kilometer is completely occupied by the expanded Reiatsu photosphere. As long as Aizen Sosuke is still within the range of Sero's explosion, it is impossible to escape the order of being hit by Sero. Is there only one chance? The captains and vice-captains of the other Gote 13th divisions also cast Hado from a distance. Hado no 63 Fiery Lightning Howl. Hado's 33 Blue Flame Pendant. Hado's 73 Double Lotus Kengwo Pendant. Hado's 88 Flying Dragon strikes thief and shakes the sky. Advertisement. In an instant, Mansion Hado was released from the hands of the captains and vice-captains. The huge explosion caused by the Sero released by the Masquerade Corps just now has not dissipated. With the attack of the sky-filled Hado, the even bigger explosion of Reiatsu suddenly enveloped a radius of several kilometers. The huge explosion not only set off dust that soared into the sky, but also created a spiritual storm that covered the sky and the sun. All the matter in the center of the spiritual storm was so violent that ultimate spiritual storm was crushed. Captain Aizen seems to be in a bit of trouble. Hana Retsu and others turned their heads suddenly, only to find that Aizen Sosuke had arrived at Ichimaru Jin's side at some point. One slash has to suffer so many blows. Just when many captains thought that this wave of offensive was going to work, Aizen Sosuke's calm voice suddenly reached everyone's ears. Or is it that you have overestimated the strength of the captains of the Gote 13th Division? Before Tsunade got close to Aizen Sosuke, the furious Hiriko Shinji slashed several times, and even the right arm holding Zanpakuto was almost removed. Impossible. He obviously slashed his fist. But now, facing Hiriko Shinji who has mastered Hollow and knows his abilities like the back of his hand. Seeing Aizen Sosuke's situation, he not only didn't help, but even showed a little bit of worry. Instead, he watched Aizen Sosuke being beaten in the distance with a playful face. But the members of the Masked Legion hated his sneak attack, and all of them almost died under Hollow's experiment. Ichimaru Jin on the side has already retreated far away. On the other hand, Tsunade is loyal. Hiriko Shinji, the most powerful member of the Masked Legion, interfered with Aizen Sosuke with the ability to caress, and greeted Tsunade immediately. There. Yin, do you have any wrong understanding of the word trouble? When did he go there? Trouble. Seeing that Jia is in danger, he immediately wants to help. If it is a sneak attack, with the terrifying Bankai ability to deprive the five senses, Tsunade has a slight possibility of defeating Hiriko Shinji under mental calculations. Advertisement. Chapter 243 Kazuki, what do you think? Advertisement. Aizen Sosuke appeared strangely next to Ichimaru Jin, which already made Hana Retsu and Kyoraku Shunsui incomprehensible. They were even more horrified when they saw that Aizen Sosuke didn't have a single scar on his body. Even Muguruma Kensai was affected by their attack just now, with more injuries. How did Aizen Sosuke, who slashed Muguruma Kensai, remain unscathed? This makes them feel tingling while they can't figure it out. Oh, I haven't reached Captain Aizen's level yet. Of course I can't understand how strong you are, Captain Aizen. But what's the matter with you? Why did you suddenly come to me? Didn't you just chop off Captain Boxing West? When Ichimaru Jin heard Aizen Sosuke's voice ringing in his ears, his body tensed unconsciously, but he calmed down in a blink of an eye. Immediately afterwards, he glanced at Aizen Sosuke, and asked nonchalantly. Is this what you mean? Aizen Sosuke glanced at Hana Retsu, Kyoraku Shunsui and other Shinigami who had surrounded him again, but did not dare to do it easily, and then slowly made a seal with one hand. With a bang, a shadow clone that looks exactly like him has appeared in front of everyone. This is my shadow clone. It is also a technique learned from Hokage-sama. Silver, this is a good move. The practicability is very good, especially when used with Kyoka Suigetsu, it is almost always beneficial. By the way, I forgot to tell you. Although Shadow Clone has only 1/10 of my main body's strength, he has inherited all my abilities. Including my Kyoka Suigetsu. Advertisement. Aizen Sosuke is full of praise for Shadow Clone technique. He highly admires Second Hokage, who pioneered this ninjutsu and claims to have forbidden technique all over his body. This kind of innovative talent, if Senju Tobarama is not dead, and the world is separated, he is really willing to use Tsunade and Ichimaru Jin beside him in exchange for Senju Tobarama's resurrection. It's really similar. If the Reiatsu gap between the avatar and the main body is not too obvious, I can't tell which one is real and which one is fake. Captain Aizen, you are invincible with this move. When Ichimaru Jin saw the two Aizen Sosuke appear, his pupils constricted unconsciously. Not only him, Hana Retsu and other captains standing not far away were even more horrified. The weakest standing here are the existences of the vice-captain level. Of course they know that this trick is just a simple shadow clone technique in the Hokage world, but in the Shinigami world, how terrifying it is on them Shinigami. Even if the avatar is only 10 times stronger than the main body, it is already terrifying enough. Especially some Shinigami. Their Zanpakuto abilities are extremely pervert. Once combined with shadow clone technique, it will immediately become a nightmare existence. Invincible can't even be called. Silver, this world is far wider than what you see and imagine. There is no need to say more about the scenery outside the world. The best I can do is be invincible in Soul Society. Aizen Sosuke, who has always had the heart of my invincibility, said quite modestly this time. It's not that he lost confidence. But he can see farther and clearer scenery than before. Especially after learning from Zhang Chulin that some powerful people in the world can destroy a world, or even a universe, with a flick of a finger, he took a fact seriously. Advertisement. 0 for flowers. In Shinigami, he Aizen has me invincible. In Myriad Realms chat dress, he Aizen Sosuke firmly sits in the second place. But in thousands of worlds, he Aizen Sosuke is not even a fart. Is this still the Aizen Sosuke I'm familiar with? Sui Feng looked downcastly at Aizen Sosuke, who was chatting with Ichimaru Jin, completely ignoring them, the Shinigami captains. Kazuki, what do you think? Just Kyoka Suigetsu has them caught in a dilemma and overwhelmed. Urahara Kazuki's lips twitched slightly, he wanted to say something, but finally sighed helplessly. Facing the impeccable Aizen Sosuke at this time, she is also slumped, and she is also very powerless. 0. Ichimaru Jin felt more dignified when he saw that Aizen Sosuke had changed significantly from before. I'm at a loss for what to do. This is not only difficult to deal with in terms of strength, but also in terms of mentality. Aizen Sosuke has become more impeccable. How else to look? Shihu and Yoruichi didn't fare much better than Sui Feng. But recently he found that Aizen Sosuke was becoming more and more difficult to deal with. At this moment, even the veteran Shinigami like Kiraku Shunsui closed his eyes weakly. This is how to fight. The former Aizen Sosuke was already extremely difficult to deal with, but it more or less gave him hope. Not to mention that now Aizen Sosuke has also resorted to the ultimate move of Shadow Clone technique. I heard that Urahara Kazuki, who has always been resourceful and has a solution to any problem, no matter what the problem is. They are neither advancing nor retreating, neither attacking nor defending. Advertisement. Chapter 244 Old Man Sean, you are finally about to show your cards. Advertisement. To be able to drive Shinigami like Kiraku Shunsui into such helplessness and despair. One can imagine how terrifying Aizen Sosuke is now. It can also be seen how bad the situation of the Shinigami of Gote 13th Division is now. Team Leader. Katetsu Azane glanced at Yunohana Retsu, her mouth moved slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end she didn't have the courage to say it. Yunohana Retsu next to her glanced at her and immediately understood what she was thinking. Withdraw. Although Katetsu Azane didn't say it, Yunohana Retsu got it. It's not just her. Kiraku Shunsui, Jashiro Yukitaki, Shihuin Yoruichi, 290, Urahara Kazuki and the rest of the masked corps all know what Katetsu Azane wanted to say but didn't end up saying. If it is normal, I guess Katetsu Azane has ushered in a reprimand. But now, everyone is silent. Even Hiriko Shinji and others who hated Aizen Sosuke were silent. Long gone is the morale-boosting gesture of seeking revenge on Aizen Sosuke in the first place. It's not just the vice captain Katetsu Azane who has the idea of retreating, many of the Shinigami captains present even have the idea of retreating. It's not that they don't have the courage to fight to the end, but that they don't see the slightest hope of victory. If you continue to fight, the result will not change in the slightest. Before cracking Kyoka Suigetsu, no matter how many they were, they still couldn't touch Aizen Sosuke's clothes in the end, no matter how many they used. Not to mention, besides Aizen Sosuke, their enemies also have Whitebeard, Aceeds and other skirt friends who are standing aside and watching the fun on the surface, but in fact they have been looking for opportunities to pretend. Advertisement. In this case, they didn't flee on the spot, and their mentality was already very good. Get out. Just when the morale of the remaining captains and vice captains fell to the bottom, an old and heavy voice suddenly echoed in everyone's ears. Immediately afterwards, the temperature of the entire Seraiti climbed crazily. The ground of Seraiti, which has long been in ruins, is constantly shaking, and huge cracks extend to every corner of Soul Society like a dragon. Aizen Sosuke, who had seen Gote 13th Division's morale plummeted to the bottom and was about to lose all fighting spirit, frowned slightly as he planned to harvest them. This is also the first time his expression has changed since he appeared in frontal battle with the 13th Division of the Gote. Get out of the way. Almost at the same time that Aizen Sosuke's expression changed slightly, Whitebeard suddenly shouted. 1,000 miles frozen. Acetus' pupils shrank, and his right hand slapped the ground like lightning. The ultimate cold air swept across like a wave. In an instant, the area with a radius of tens of kilometers was immediately frozen, turning into an endless world of ice and snow. It's just that this ice and snow world began to melt rapidly almost the second it appeared. Gai Buddha has an infinite mighty force, and the powerful force interferes with the celestial phenomena and the climate. Ting, no, it is the temperature and celestial phenomena of the entire Soul Society that are all dominated. In just a few seconds, the ground frozen by Aceeds not only melted completely, but also the cracks that coiled and hovered on the Seraiti land like giant dragons were like craters, and the sound resounded through the world under the loud noise. Flames spewed out one after another, piercing into the sky in an instant. Facing the flames that set the Buddha to burn the entire Seraiti, not only the earth turned into a land of red flames, but even the sky was occupied by the flames, as if it was directly boiled. 0. Advertisement. The huge clouds continued to dissipate, and the Buddha was burned to death. The earth not only showed scorched marks, but even the soil, rocks, and trees melted away bit by bit like ice and snow being burned by raging fire. Facing this unimaginable high temperature, facing these flames that filled almost every corner of the Seraiti, even a captain-level Shinigami was sweating profusely from the high temperature. Especially as time goes by, the hot temperature is still rising. Many vice captains and even captains have had to bankai, hollow, whatever to fight the heat. Otherwise, just this high temperature of thousands of degrees is enough to make people unable to survive. It's saved. Jashiro Yukitaki looked at the huge pillars of fire piercing the sky, and there was a joy visible to the naked eye on his face. It's been a long time. I haven't seen this Zanpakuto appear. A flash of nostalgia flashed in Yunohana Retsu's eyes. 3.3 inches old man Sean, you are finally about to show your cards. At this moment, Hieraku Shunsui not only swept away the previous despair, but also had a look of joy on his face. As if he had seen the hope of victory. So hot. This kind of power. It can't be that Zanpakuto. Zhang Chulin spewed armor like thunder from her whole body to resist the terrifying high temperature. I thought he was killed by Boy Luo before he was liberated. It seems that he seized the opportunity to cast Bankai. Whitebeard turned his head sharply to look at the place where Luo Hao was fighting Yamamoto Genryusai. Advertisement. Chapter 245 Loyal Ichimaru Jin. Advertisement. Whitebeard, who had fought Captain Shinigami and suffered a lot from Bankai, knew that the Yamamoto Genryusai holding the Ryujin Jaka must be Bankai. Only Shikai, whose strength is already so strong that he exploded, can cause such changes after Bankai. The only thing that can cause this kind of interference with the temperature change of the entire Soul Society is that knife. For the first time, Aizen Sosuke showed seriousness on his face. Kyoka Suigetsu is strong, but in front of the Zanpakuto who is completely liberated, he doesn't have any positive capital. Even Zanpakuto, Kyoka Suigetsu, the strongest in the hallucination system, can only shy away from that Zanpakuto. Not even his Kyoka Suigetsu, among all the Zanpakuto with the strongest name that have appeared in the history of Soul Society today, they can only back away from this Zanpakuto in Aizen's mouth. Otherwise, the only way to end is to be destroyed. 30 without a second result. Is this the old man Yamamoto's Bankai? At this time, Hirako Shinji and others who had never seen or even heard of Ryujin Jaka Bankai also responded. It can cause such changes in the sky, and the temperature in Seraiti, and even the Soul Society, can rise to the point of thousands of degrees. Looking at the Soul Society, only Bankai of Yamamoto Genryusai can do it. Although they are all Zanpakuto who have the strongest reputation and can control the sky, but you are really a few hundred blocks behind it. After killing Director Hitsugaya, Asides glanced at Hirinmaru in his hand and couldn't help but sigh. However, there was an unyielding fighting spirit in her eyes. Everyone is named the strongest, the starting point and the ending point are almost the same. Hirinmaru was so weak that he exploded in front of Ryujin Jaka, not Hirinmaru, but Hitsugaya Toshiro, the master of Hirinmaru. If the Shinigami holding Hirinmaru is Yamamoto Genryusai instead, Asides believes that Hirinmaru will still be as terrifying as the current Ryujin Jaka. In the hands of that kid, you are nothing more than a pearl dusted in dust. See this sky. This is the power behind Ryujin Jaka Bankai who is on the same level as you. You surrender to me, and I will bring you to the level of Ryujin Jaka, and beyond him. Advertisement. Asides stared at Hirinmaru in his hand, eyes full of conquest. It's just that Hirinmaru didn't know whether he died with Hitsugaya Toshiro, or he died completely, or he didn't want to talk to Asides. After her words fell, Hirinmaru still didn't respond at all. You will surrender. It's just a matter of time. If you want to struggle, just struggle. Seeing the unresponsive Hirinmaru, Asides was not only not angry, but was full of smiles. She is strong. Everything is subject to her. Not even Hirinmaru. Resistance, and struggle will only be conquered by her in the end. Let's all withdraw, leaving Soul Society, going to this world, Hueco Mundo. Come back after everything is over. Just as everyone was resisting the rising temperature, the voice of Yamamoto Genryusai sounded again. Walk. Urahara Kazuki's eyes flashed, and then he jerked out Zanpakuto and stabbed the air in front of his eyes, then twisted. A world-transmitting door was immediately opened by him. Get in. Shihu and Yoruichi shouted hastily. What a joke. Yamamoto Genryusai, this is just the prelude to Bankai, the commotion is so terrifying. Advertisement. If it is really completely Bankai, and then fights with the Zanpakuto behind Bankai, not only the Seraiti, but even the Soul Society will be destroyed after a long time. The legend of Ryujin Jaka Bankai, the patriarch of the Shihuan family, she heard a lot when she was a child. In the history of Soul Society, the number of Yamamoto Genryusai Bankai can be counted on the fingers. Not only because there are few enemies who can force Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni Bankai, but more importantly, even Yamamoto Genryusai cannot Bankai until the Soul Society exists. Once Bankai, Seraiti have not been destroyed by the enemy, Soul Society may have been destroyed under Yamamoto Genryusai's Bankai. Now that she saw Seraiti, who was almost turned into a world of flames, she knew that the historical records of the Shihuan family were not exaggerated. Yamamoto Genryusai's Bankai can indeed destroy the Soul Society. 437. Shoot him, Shinso. Hearing Shihu and Yoruichi's shout, everyone also reacted. But this time the loyal Ichimaru Jin made a move. A cold star pierced through the air from his wrist, and it was about to penetrate the bodies of several vice captains. Clang. At the critical moment, Yunohana Retsu, who has been in charge of saving lives and healing the wounded, finally stopped hiding herself. I saw that she untied the long braid that was tied up, and pulled out a Zanpakuto with lightning in her right hand. Not only did she block Ichimaru Jin's sneak attack without Shikai, but she also backhanded the incoming Shinso to fly away. Go in. Yunohana Retsu confronted Ichimaru Jin without looking back. First generation Chiba. It's really scary. Ichimaru Jin said Kazaru's mantra on his mouth, but his narrowed fox eyes showed a dignified look. He has already heard of the name of Wa Big Sister. After just a short fight just now, he came to a result. To win Yunohana Retsu, even if you use the solution, you may not be able to do it. Advertisement. Chapter 246 The 13th Squad of the Court. Advertisement. Captain Aizen, it seems that I can't help you stop them. I can only rely on you. Thinking of this, Ichimaru Jin said to Aizen Sosuke with an apologetic face. Those who don't know really think how loyal he is to Aizen Sosuke. It's okay, Silver, you must be doing well. They can't go. Aizen Sosuke stepped forward, and the person had appeared in front of Unohana Retsu out of thin air. But in Unohana Retsu's vision, Aizen Sosuke was still standing beside Ichimaru Jin, and he didn't move half a step from the beginning to the end. Bang! Seeing that Aizen Sosuke was about to slash at Unohana Retsu with Kyoka Suigetsu, a huge pillar of fire shot up from the ground under Unohana Retsu's feet like a volcanic eruption. Aizen Sosuke narrowed his eyes slightly, and pressed his left hand forward. 81 of Bakudo splitting void. In an instant, a huge wall appeared under his feet out of thin air. But this wall, which even the Kido of number 90 could resist, couldn't stop the pillar of fire for even a second. This level of destructive power is truly brutal. In just a split second, Aizen Sosuke noticed that the temperature of the pillar of fire had exceeded 100,000 degrees. What is the concept of a pillar of fire that is thousands of meters long, has a radius of more than 500 meters, and a temperature as high as 100,000 degrees? Few things can withstand a blow from a pillar of fire. Even Aizen Sosuke's Bakudo is as fragile as tofu in its presence. To deal with it, I guess we can only use this kind of power. Facing the pillar of fire that was about to sweep across in a blink of an eye, Aizen Sosuke had no choice but to slash at Unohana Retsu again. Dust escape boundary stripping technique. Advertisement. A huge cube stretched out, enveloping the oncoming pillar of fire. With a flash of white light, a large pillar of fire was instantly decomposed into an atomic state. But the pillar of fire has never been the same as before. Aizen Sosuke just disintegrated apart, and immediately more flames shot up into the sky, filling the gap in the pillar of fire. Not enough chakra. There is no way to use Dust Dungeon to destroy this 1,000-meter-long pillar of fire in an instant. A gleam of dissatisfaction flashed in Aizen Sosuke's eyes. This is not dissatisfaction with Chen Dun, but dissatisfaction with his own strength. He is very dissatisfied with the fact that he can only do so much. Especially thinking that Luo Hao is in a normal state, and he doesn't know if he has used all his strength. Just a simple 5-element ninjutsu has the power to devour the earth. He is even more dissatisfied with his performance. If Lord Hokage were to use this dust escape, he would be able to erase this pillar of fire from its source in an instant. What a shame. Am I nothing more than that? Aizen Sosuke sighed secretly, finally withdrew his knife and stepped back. As soon as he retreated, the pillar of fire was unresisted, and immediately rushed into the sky, enveloping Unohana Retsu and the others. Old man Sean saved us. In the pillar of fire, although Kyoraku Shunsui was roasted almost unbearably, his face was full of smiles. I think Aizen should have approached me just now. It's just that I can't feel it at all, and I can't react. If it wasn't for the chief captain protecting us with this pillar of fire, it is estimated that I, or one of us, would have become a corpse now. Quote. Unohana Retsu sighed. Such is the horror of Zanpakuto, who has the reputation of being the strongest, falling into the hands of a real strong man. Just like Ryujin Jaka has unparalleled and invincible attack power in the hands of Yamamoto Genryusai. Kyoka Suigetsu also has a bug-like ability in the hands of Aizen Sosuke. Let them have a body of strength, but no chance to show it. Advertisement. They can only wait for Aizen Sosuke to be slaughtered one by one like lambs to be slaughtered. Backquote let's go. Jashiro Yukitaki shook his head. Sister Wa, when we leave, old man Sean can act unscrupulously. At that time, his attack can sweep the entire Soul Society within minutes. As long as Aizen Sosuke and his accomplices are in the Soul Society, they cannot escape the old man's attack. Kyoraku Shunsui said, if that's the case, then Aizen's Kyoka Suigetsu wouldn't make much sense. Old man Sean doesn't need to know where Aizen is or what Aizen is doing, he can just zoom in on all directions. Quote. Hirako Shinji's eyes lit up. This is indeed the best way to deal with Kyoka Suigetsu. Yes, but the price is a bit high. No matter if old man Sean wins this battle, Seraiti and even Soul Society may cease to exist. Kyoraku Shunsui let out a long sigh. This is indeed the best way to counter Kyoka Suigetsu's flashy abilities. But the price is the price. Win or lose, get on Seraiti, get on Soul Society. Moreover, their retreat completely represented the defeat of the 13th division of the Gote team. At least there is still hope. As the captain said, as long as we are still there, Seraiti has hope of rebuilding. You can't live up to the captain's wishes. After Shihu and Yoruichi finished speaking, he led the other vice captains and jumped into the world transmitting gate. The others nodded when they heard this, and stepped into the world transmitting gate one after another. Advertisement. Chapter 247 It's time for the boss to dance, and the idlers wait to retreat. Advertisement. When the last flames of Gote 13th Division passed through the gate and completely left Soul Society, Yamamoto Genryusai seemed to be aware of their departure, and the pillar of fire surrounding them not only did not dissipate, but became even more violent. The land of Seraiti was completely shrouded in flames, like a sea of fire falling, and like a burning earth, making it difficult for people to move. Not only the earth, but also the sky was surrounded by flames. Zhang Chulin and the others felt that there was no way to go to heaven and no way to go to earth when they saw it. Bankai Remnant Sword. On the burning ground, a burly figure with a bare upper body slowly stepped out from the crater-like crack. Although this figure has an old face and long hair, his figure is as majestic and burly as a young man. In addition to not being as tall as Whitebeard, his body still gives people an indescribable visual impact. In particular, he is covered with raging flames all over his body, which adds a bit of kamui. Hiss 007. With Yamamoto Genryusai's low, deadly chant, all the flames from the blade of his Zanpakuto dissipated, transforming into an extremely ancient, simple long knife. But facing this long sword, everyone who saw it felt a chill. The most important thing is the appearance of this residual fire sword. The terrifying high temperature swept the Soul Society at an extremely fast speed. The moisture in Soul Society began to evaporate at an extremely fast rate. If it lasts for more than 10 minutes, there is no need to fight. Yamamoto Genryusai just stood there holding the remaining fire sword so simply, all the souls of the Soul Society, and even the space of the Soul Society will no longer exist. No way. Holding a remnant sword with a temperature of 15 million, what kind of concept is this? Although the destruction of the Soul Society is definitely not as good as the real sun, it is also equivalent to throwing a sun the size of a long knife into the Soul Society. With such ultimate heat all the time, it's only a matter of time before Soul Society is destroyed. And this time is very short. Advertisement. I can't take it anymore. Acetus's face was covered with sweat. She has brought into full play the power of Ice Escape and Ice Taigu to ultimate, using her cold air to fight against the high temperature naturally emitted by Yamamoto Genryusai's remaining fire sword. But no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't bear it. Yamamoto Genryusai did nothing, just standing where he was enough for the Captain Shinigami to die without a fight. This is the true power of Zanpakuto, the oldest and most aggressive of the Heat family. Looks like we're leaving too. Although Cheomung is not reconciled, he also knows that it is time for the big guys to dance. Their chance to pretend is gone. As the Wanjie pretend conference going to withdraw. Whitebeard is a bit reconciled. He was standing aside just now, not watching the excitement, but looking for an opportunity to pretend to be another wave. But helplessly, his strength can't keep up with his compulsion. Let him have the ability to pretend to be constantly improving, but lack the strength to exert it. DAAC. Although he has wood style, forget it. Even though his wood style was chasing Senju Hashirama directly, but in front of Remnant Sword, his trees were scorched naturally before they grew. In this case, it is estimated that even if he really learned Sage Mode, it would be useless. Less than the 6 paths level, I can't even stand in front of Yamamoto Genryusai who is holding a fire dagger. Get out, Dad. Let's not talk about pretending in this afternoon, it's hard to even survive. Although it is a bit cruel to say this, the pretend time of the next time bosses. Advertisement. You are not eligible to participate yet. Those of us who are idlers should go back to our respective homes, holding watermelons, nibbling melon seeds, and watching Luo Hao Captain Yamato Aizen quietly. Isn't it delicious? Zhang Chulin sat directly on Whitebeard's shoulder, her face extremely ugly. Besides him, also Rukia sits on Whitebeard's other shoulder. At this time, the land of Seraiti has been turned into a burning place. They can't even stand on the ground. Even Whitebeard, Chakra, Armament Haki, and Acetus frantically released the power of ice to barely stand. Let's go. Whitebeard nodded slightly dejectedly. The strength is not as good as others, so I can only go home and watch others pretend. This 10,000 Worlds Pretend conference is so cruel. If you don't have enough strength, let alone dancing, you can't do it even if you watch other people pretend on the spot, you can only go home and watch the live broadcast. Walk. With a thought in his mind, Acedes opened the passage to return to the world of Zon Crimson Pupil. At the same time, Z and the others also opened the crossing passages one after another. Hey, you all ran away, what should I do? As soon as he saw Zhang Chulin and the others pat their asses and were about to leave, they suddenly became nervous. A murmur made everyone pause slightly. Especially Whitebeard, he really almost forgot about the son he took in from the Shinigami world. Advertisement. Chapter 248 I subdued you, Edward Yijigu. Advertisement. Billion, can you take people through the passage? Of course Whitebeard was reluctant to leave Yijigu here. After all, the current Yijigu hasn't opened up to the point where he can join forces with Aizen Sosuke and his comrade in arms Habak. With Yijigu's strength, if he is still here, even if Yijigu goes directly to the Niatu family, he will probably be burned to death by the residual fire sword. Unless he masters the last Crescent Sky, Yijigu is also not qualified to watch Luo Hao and Aizen Zong Yu Yao pretend live. Father, you've got me stuck. If you ask me what the future looks like, then I can answer you for free. But if you ask me if the traversal channel of the Wanjie chat skirt can take other people through, I really don't know. Zhang Chulin was a little confused. This is also the first time he played through the passage. His strength was so weak before, and he was worried every day that someone would travel to his own world and kill him. How could he use the passage to manually go to other people's world? Except for Luo Hao who played like a regular meal, everyone else used this crossing passage for the first time. Cheomung was invited by Luo Hao to go to Hokage world once. Go, Super Dream Ball. Just when Whitebeard was struggling, Mewtwo suddenly put on a blue and red hat, then turned the front of the hat to the back, and then held 2 Mewbird balls in his right hand, and moved toward the one with a very ceremonial gesture. Jigu and Rukia Kuchiki voted. What? Both Yijigu and Rukia Kuchiki were roasted to death by the high temperature of the fire. Facing the Cheomung ball thrown by Cheomung, they could only lie on Whitebeard's shoulder foolishly, allowing the 2 Cheomung balls to hit themselves. Puff. Advertisement. When the two Mudream balls touched them, the Mudream ball opened immediately, and then released two beams of purple light to envelop the two of them. Finally, the purple light was closed, and the two disappeared on Whitebeard's shoulder at the same time. The Cheomung ball that took away Rukia Kuchiki and Yijigu immediately wobbled, as if the two elves inside were struggling. But I don't know whether it's because the two super beasts, Yijigu and Rukia, have been roasted for too long by Yamamoto Genryusai's remnant sword, or the high-tech pokeballs such as Cheomung ball have been modified by Mewtwo, and even they can't resist the research and development. Under the gaze of many eyes, Cheomung ball just shook 2 or 3 times and then stopped. Edward Yijigu, I've subdued you. Rukia Kuchiki, I got you. Cheomung reached out to pick up the two Cheomung balls, and then made a V gesture with his right hand. Good stuff. Aizen Sosuke, who was still admiring Yamamoto Genryusai's Bankai pretend, had a bright eye, and then teleported to Mewtwo at a speed almost as fast as Flying Thunder God. Xiao Chao, how do you sell this thing? Aizen Sosuke stared at Mewtwo with burning eyes. Seeing him like this, the corner of Ichimaru Jin's mouth twitched suddenly. Captain Aizen, are you really okay? Don't you see that Yamamoto Genryusai is already Bankai, ready to make a move? How disrespectful you are to Yamamoto Genryusai. And what the hell is that Super Dream Ball? Worth your fanaticism. Even Yamamoto Genryusai Shigekuni doesn't care. I want a Zanpakuto from Captain Shinigami. Advertisement. 0 for flowers 0. Cheomung raised a finger. Aizen Sosuke conjured a Zanpakuto out of nowhere and handed it to Mewtwo. Ah, this is Muguruma Kensai's Zanpakuto. Who knows if Aizen Sosuke did something in the sealed state? Super Dream Ball. All of a sudden, whether it's Aizen Sosuke or Mewtwo, they all feel that they have taken advantage of each other. You saw it just now. Considering the danger of Aizen Sosuke and his style of cheating, he dare not buy the sealed state from Aizen Sosuke. Super Dream eyes bright. Otherwise, there will be a problem with the sealed state, and his army of elves may become Aizen Sosuke's pocket every minute. Even after Luo Hao traded from Aizen Sosuke to the sealed state, he only used it for trading. In the end, his Zanpakuto, which can simulate the abilities of all Shinigami Shikai and Bankai, was condensed by himself, and Aizen was not used at all. Sosuke's sealed state. Make a deal. After trading Cheomung ball from Cheomung, Aizen Sosuke was also smiling. One exchanged a Zanpakuto picked up at random for a Super Dream Ball that even Shinigami can forcibly subdue, and one exchanged a Super Dream Ball that could be mass-produced at will for a Zanpakuto of Captain Shinigami. Finally got it. Even Luo Hao, his own trainer, is so careful, so of course Cheomung should be careful too. He wanted Zanpakuto, not like a Seeds, who fell in love with a certain Shinigami Zanpakuto and wanted to take it for himself. He just wanted to study Zanpakuto, to see if every elf in the elf world could awaken Zanpakuto just like Shinigami. Advertisement. Chapter 249 Gentlemen, please watch the live broadcast. Advertisement. Father, don't worry, after all, I am your son too. Although I don't recognize this little brother GGU, I won't watch him die here either. After trading Muguruma Kensai's Zanpakuto from Aizen Sosuke, Mewtwo turned to Whitebeard. After all, it was by recognizing relatives and relatives at the beginning, and recognized Whitebeard as the father in the skirt chat before kissing his heels in the skirt chat. Cheomung still admires Whitebeard who loves every son from the heart. After all, wasn't he loved so much back then? Even if he didn't regard Zhongchulin or Yijigu as his younger brother, but for the sake of Baihu's 087, he would not refuse to save him. Is this really okay? Whitebeard was still a little uneasy. If they can be subdued by me, they should also be regarded as my elves. At the beginning, I came to Master Hokage's world with several super beasts. They are all alive and well. I think Rukia and Yijigu can also be alive. Moreover, this is also the best way. The group of Shinigami who fled just now should have gone to the present world, because they lost Seraiti and the Soul Society. Once we send Yijigu and Rukia to the present world, they will be killed in the end. Going to the present world and staying in the Soul Society are both dead, why not take it into the Super Dream Ball and give it a try to see if you can survive in the crossing passage? Cheomung suggested. Well, then they will entrust you. Whitebeard pondered for a moment, and also felt that what Cheomung said made sense. If you stay here, you will definitely die, it would be safer to leave this world with Cheomung. Advertisement. Everyone, see you on the live broadcast. Aizen Sosuke bowed to Whitebeard et al. Send you 1,000 miles, but you will have to say goodbye at the end. Captain Aizen, don't send any more. Whitebeard waved, and stepped into the walkway. Others also left the Shinigami world after waving goodbye to Aizen Sosuke. Whitebeard, who always takes the safety of every son in his heart, returned to Pirate World, opened the skirt chat and contacted Cheomung before sitting on the chair. Whitebeard. Xiao Chao, how is Yijigu and Rukia doing? Is there any hope of rescue? Whitebeard. If you can't rescue him, remember to send Zangetsu over. This is a relic of Gigi, and Laozi must take good care of it for him. Mewtwo, Aizen Sosuke, Acetus, Zhongchulin. Is it really okay with you? Whitebeard, so straightforward and faithfully expressing his thoughts. Are you sure that you wanted to take Yijigu away just now because you didn't care about your son, but because you were eyeing Yijigu's Zangetsu that can be chopped off from the head to the finale? Cheomung. Father, they are living a good life, you should forget about that Zangetsu. Whitebeard. Gu la la la. As expected of Laozi's son. Whitebeard. Send them to Pirate World later, Laozi promised to teach them hockey. Mewtwo. Okay, When Master Hokage finishes pretending, I'll give him One Piece world to you. Advertisement. Aceeds. Aizen, go live. Aizen Sosuke. Everyone please watch the live broadcast. As for Tsunade, because his strength was too weak, after Yamamoto Genryusai cast Bankai Remnant Fire Teidao, he retreated like Unohana Retsu and the others. Whitebeard. If I'm not mistaken, Old Man Sean was beaten by Boy Luo all the time before Bankai. Logically speaking, unless Boy Luo releases the water, Old Man Sean probably won't even have a chance with Bankai. When everyone saw it, they clicked on the live broadcast immediately. Zhang Chulin. Look, everyone. Boss Luo is coming. I have to say, it's cool to go back to my own world. 0. Luo Hao stared at Yamamoto Genryusai with the expression that I have been waiting for your Bankai for a long time. Finally Bankai. Open black lens bracket skirt friend Aizen Sosuke launches live video close black lens bracket. What Yamamoto Genryusai said not only made the eyes of Zhang Chulin and the other skirt friends who were watching the live broadcast brighten, but even Aizen Sosuke and Ichimaru Jin on the side also pricked up their ears. Cheomung. Master Hokage should have his plan. Through the live broadcast, they finally saw Luo disappeared for more than a minute again. Although it is a pity that there is no opportunity to pretend, but to comfortably watch the two big brothers pretend in the skirt chat is also one of the top 10 happy things in life. Although there is no immersive feeling, watching the live broadcast in your own world is better than being safe and comfortable, and you don't need to be cooked by Yamamoto Genryusai's remnant sword. HMPH. I finally understand what your Zanpakuto's ability is all about. Acetus. Where did he go just now? Why did he come here now? But Unohana Retsu and others went to the present world, while Tsunade went to Hueco Mundo. You are 2.0 and I have been waiting for a while. Facing Yamamoto Genryusai's remnant sword and the terrifyingly high temperature that could roast Soul Society, Luo Hao stepped on the burning ground, ignoring the flames everywhere, and walked towards Yamamoto Genryusai step by step. Advertisement. Chapter 250 Vientiane. Copy everything Shikai, Bankai. Advertisement. Your Zanpakuto. Vientiane should have the ability to copy other people's Shikai, Bankai. This is indeed a terrifying ability. But this is also the biggest shortcoming of your Zanpakuto. Your copying ability requires a launching ceremony. Like Aizen Sosuke's Kyoka Suigetsu, in order to complete hypnosis, one must watch the liberation of Kyoka Suigetsu. And your Zanpakuto ritual is to have used Shikai, Bankai in front of you to replicate. It is precisely because of this reason that you have not killed the captain and deputy captain of the Gote 13th Squad. Because you are waiting for them Shikai, Bankai. Just now you forced this old man to a desperate situation, but you didn't kill him because you wanted to force this old man to use Bankai. Yamamoto Genryusai stared at Luo Hao, and said word by word. Watch carefully. That's why you let the other captains and vice captains leave immediately after Bankai. Luo Hao smiled lightly. Nice 30. As long as they continue to stay in front of you, sooner or later it will be Bankai. The more Bankai you have seen, the more solutions you have. It is the best choice to let them leave and let the old man take care of you himself. Yamamoto Genryusai said in a deep voice. The reason why he let Kiraku Shunsui and others evacuate, besides his Bankai will hurt his own people, is the most important reason. Luo Hao must not be allowed to see more Zanpakuto liberation of the captain and vice captain. Otherwise, even if he defeated Ryujin Jaka Bankai, he would not have the confidence to defeat Luo Ku. Advertisement. As for now, although it was a bit late for him to realize this, it was not too late. At least there are many captains in the 13th division of the court, Bankai, which Luo Hao has never seen. Zhang Chulin. It turns out that this is the ability of Boss Luo Zanpakuto. This is even more pervert than Sharingan's copy. Aceeds. But can the liberation of Zanpakuto that you have seen be perfectly replicated? Whitebeard. Zaraki Kenpachi's ability of the Bell Kid is probably copied by him. Cheomung. He suddenly felt that the captain-level Zanpakuto he had just traded was a bit unsavory. After Yamamoto Genryusai revealed the ability of Luo Hao Zanpakuto, it immediately shocked Zhang Chulin and others who were watching the live broadcast in the skirt chat. You can copy each other's Shikai and Bankai by looking at them once. It's like having all the Zanpakuto abilities in the entire Shinigami world. What a terrifying ability. Besides Aizen Sosuke, Ichimaru Jin, the only one who was still watching the match at the scene, heard Luo Hao's words, and a trace of fear flashed in his eyes. If he remembered correctly, he seemed to have cast Zanpakuto's Shikai in front of this man just now. So, his Shinso has been copied. My Kyoka Suigetsu was copied around that time too. It seems that if you want to surpass Hokage-sama, you can't work hard on the power of Shinigami, you must surpass him in other power systems. Aizen Sosuke thought about it secretly. Even Yamamoto Genryusai could sense Luo Hao's Zanpakuto ability, and he naturally sensed it early on. Just now he listened so earnestly just to see if Yamamoto Genryusai had discovered the details that he hadn't. Let them go. Cook me yourself. Old man Sean, do you think it makes sense to do so? Advertisement. Luo Hao looked at Yamamoto Genryusai with a half smile. Although you have many Zanpakuto abilities, they are not worth mentioning in front of the old man's Bankai. There are only 3 Zanpakuto that can really be useful in a fight with me. Hirinmaru from Hitsugaya Toshiro, Kyoka Suigetsu from Aizen Sosuke, and Ryujin Jaka which you copied from me. Quote. Hearing this, Yamamoto Genryusai not only did not relax his vigilance, but became more cautious. His words not only stunned Yamamoto Genryusai, but also surprised Aizen 720 Sosuke, Ichimaru Jin, and Zhang Chulin who was watching the live broadcast. He also thought that Luo Hao said not to use Ryujin Jaka in front of him before, just to let him relax his vigilance and force him to use Bankai. The corners of Luo Hao's mouth slightly raised, making it difficult to guess what his real thoughts are. So you can rest assured. But now that he has cast his Bankai, Luo Hao should have copied the Bankai of Remnant Fire Teidao into his hand. What the hell are you thinking of? Luo Hao shook his head. You have to take advantage of the opportunity. You don't need to remind me. As I said, against you, I wouldn't use Ryujin Jaka without it. At this time, Luo Hao has no reason not to use Ryujin Jaka's ability. What? KR. This is my reward for trying so hard to dance in front of me. Yamamoto Genryusai and others looked at Luo Ku with big eyes in disbelief. Yamamoto Genryusai faced Luo Hao, who had mastered 3 Zanpakuto at the same time, and had no fear on his face. Instead, he looked confident. Maybe, otherwise I regretted it in the next second and changed my mind to use the ability of Remnant Sword to deal with you, then you will miss this best chance to defeat me. Quote. Advertisement.